Good evening. The City of Southfield regular meeting for the City Council for May 18th has now come to order. Mr. Clerk, if you can please do a roll call.
Good evening. Councilwoman Banks is absent with notice. Councilwoman Bland.
Here.
Councilman Brightwell.
Here.
Councilwoman Haynes.
Present.
Councilwoman Pro Tem Hoag.
Here.
Councilman Mandelbaum.
Present.
Council President Hicks.
Here.
Sir, you have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. If we can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. The City of Southfield is saddened to announce the passing of former Councilman Myron Frazier, a respected public servant whose decades of leadership and dedication left a lasting impact on this community. Councilman Frazier served the residents of Southfield for more than 2 decades through multiple appointments and elected terms on the Southfield City Council. During his tenure, he served in numerous leadership roles, including Council President, President Pro Tem, and chair of several council committees. He also contributed his time and expertise to the Southfield Wildlife Commission, Charter Review Committee, Green Dolphin Homeowners Association, and many civic and community organizations throughout the region. A Southfield resident since 1980, Councilman Frazier dedicated his life to service, advocacy, strengthening the community he loved. Beyond his work in government, he supported organizations including the Carmanos Cancer Institute, Common Ground, Southfield Goodfellows, Dominion Family Services, the Southfield MLK Task Force, and the Southfield Public School Partnership Council. Councilman Frazier will be remembered for his compassion, integrity, wisdom, and unwavering commitment to public service. He was also a devoted husband to his beloved wife, Anne, who preceded him in death, and dedicated father whose legacy will continue to inspire future generations. I ask that you please join us by extending our heartfelt condolences to the Frazier family, friends, colleagues, and all who were touched by his life and leadership. If we could have a moment of silence to honor Councilman Frazier. Thank you. We have an item on the agenda, PZR 0DD 25-000. The request, as Council President, I'm removing this item, the request to amend the existing agreement for the Northland Sub-Area Redevelopment Plan Overlay Development District to update the project phasing timeline. We're postponing it to June 8th to allow City Council an opportunity to further review and discuss what's being considered. We will now have 2 presentations being presented by our mayor. Mr. Mayor.
Please come up. Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
This evening, we have a resolution that we've supported numerous times in the past. This is a joint resolution for declaring the first Friday in June, which is June 5th, to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day. This proclamation declares the first Friday in June as National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Southfield to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence and declare that we as a country must do more to end this public health crisis. Whereas every day nearly 130 people in the United States are killed by gun violence and more than 200 are shot and wounded, with an average of more than 19,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas people in the United States are 26 times more likely to die of gun violence than people in any other high-income country. And whereas Michigan has 1,423 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 14.2 deaths per 100,000 people, a crisis that costs the state $16.8 billion a year, of which $380.5 million is paid by taxpayers. Michigan has the 28th highest rate of gun deaths in the United States. And whereas cities across the nation, including Southfield, are working to end the senseless violence with evidence-based solutions, gun violence prevention is more important than ever as we see gun violence continue to impact the communities across the country. And whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of the law-abiding citizen goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from those who are in danger to themselves or others. And whereas in January 2013, Hydida Pendleton was tragically shot and killed at age 15 on June 5th. And on June 5th, 2026, we recognize her 29th birthday. People across the United States will recognize National Gun Violence Awareness Day and wear orange in tribute to Hydida Pendleton and other victims of gun violence and the loved ones of those victims. And whereas the idea was inspired by a group of Hydida's friends who asked their classmates to commemorate her life by wearing orange. They chose this color because hunters wear orange to announce themselves to other hunters when out in the woods. And orange is the color that symbolizes the value of human life. And whereas by wearing orange on June 5th, 2026, people across the United States will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council, City of Southfield, declares June 5th, 2026 to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the City of Southfield. We encourage all citizens to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic impacts of gun violence and to save lives and join the Wear Orange campaign. I'm asking for council's endorsement this evening.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the joint resolution for Wear Orange National Gun Violence Awareness Day.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
All right. With me is Millie Hall, who is representing this and the Brady nonviolence, gun violence. So Millie, if you'd like.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to thank Mayor Ken Siver and the Southfield City Council for your continued support of our project that we have to end gun violence in our country. As we know, this is an epidemic in our country, and one of our projects that we're working on very vigorously with Moms Demand Action and Gabby Giffords PAC is to restore the Office of Gun Violence Prevention that was established by President Joe Biden and was quickly dismantled by the current president in Washington. So we need your support. We know that every single day when we watch the news, we understand that it is a severe crisis an epidemic in our country. So we have to work hand in hand throughout our communities to make sure that we work to end gun violence in our country. Thanks so much for your continued participation and support of supporting the National Gun Violence Organizations and also June National Gun Violence Awareness Month. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And this is my close friend and colleague, Brenda Standiford Jones, who's also a member of the Brady Gun Violence Organization.
Thank you all for your efforts, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Part of our awareness effort, because we do have an epidemic of domestic violence, not only in Southfield, but in the United States, and many times that involves guns. So our second joint resolution tonight is for the public that may not know, the Oakland Intermediate School District has placed a 1.5 mil tax increase on every property and homeowner in Oakland County. It will be on the August 4th primary ballot. And so I'm asking our city council and along with myself to express why we are opposed to this millage. So whereas good schools, quality education, and up-to-date school facilities are important to a community's quality of life. And whereas since 1994, Southfield taxpayers have supported the Southfield Public Schools with a school supplemental millage currently at 7.34 mils, in addition to a sinking fund and debt retirement millages. And whereas the Oakland Intermediate School District has placed a 1.5 school enrichment millage on the August 4th primary election ballot, and whereas increased taxes make it more difficult for home buyers to purchase existing homes and for us to build and sell new homes in the city because of the workings of Proposal A that lifts the cap on taxes and raises the level of taxation to on newly purchased and built homes. And whereas the proposed countywide property tax increase is estimated to generate $125 million in the first of its 6 years, these funds being distributed on a per pupil basis to the 28 Oakland County school districts and 22 charter schools. Whereas school districts with large enrollments stand to benefit the most, while districts with lower enrollments would receive less revenue. And whereas the city of Southfield, with its strong tax base, valued at $3.35 billion, would generate in the first year of the school enrichment millage, should it win voter approval, over $5 million. While at the same time, the Southfield Public Schools with a lower enrollment would receive only $3.1 million in return. Whereas property values in the city of Southfield are projected to increase over the next 6 years, and at the same time, school enrollments in Southfield as well as across the county are expected to decline. Thus, Southfield taxpayers will see more of their dollars go to school districts other than the Southfield Public Schools. And whereas the proposed Oakland County school enrichment millage would penalize Southfield taxpayers and subsidize other school districts in Oakland County. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor, City Council, City of Southfield, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, do hereby stand in opposition to the proposed Oakland Intermediate School District 1.5 mil enhancement millage, not because we do not value education, but because it will place an unfair burden on Southfield property owners.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the joint resolution opposing county school enrichment millage.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hoag, supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, council. I want to make this very clear that I am a product of public education, and I worked for Southfield Public Schools for 50 years as a teacher, administrator, deputy superintendent, consultant. And obviously, I think education is very, very important. But I'm opposing this with your support because 40% of the funds collected from Southfield taxpayers will go to other school districts in Oakland County other than our own school district. As it is, Southfield has a pretty heavy tax burden on its residents and businesses. The government, the state legislature really needs to fix or find other ways other than adding property taxes. This continually happens. It continually happens where every time there is someone needs additional or some cause needs additional monies, they go to the property tax. So we have the zoo, we have the transportation, we have the parks millage, we have the DIA, and so on. And it's just not sustainable. Why this is important for us is we have a 28% vacancy rate in our office buildings. More taxes means higher rents. In the current office climate, more taxes will not help us in leasing space in our commercial buildings. We are challenged to lure young people to purchase homes in Southfield due to the tax pop-up when ownership of property changes hands. A newly built home of moderate size in our city now commands approximately $12,000 a year in property taxes. Any tax increase will only make building and selling new homes more challenging than it already is. The average age for a first-time home buyer now is in the low 40s, 40, 41 years of age. Home ownership is a key to generational wealth. Higher property taxes won't help address that. Apartment rents will increase again. A common complaint that we hear from many of our, especially our seniors with fixed incomes who are living in apartments, is that rents are continuing to increase. We're seeing new apartments with rents at $18, $19, over $2,000 a month. With our median family income at the level it is, this tax bill will add more financial stress to many of our residents. The Southfield community has been very supportive of our local public schools, as I mentioned in the resolution, and Southfield per pupil spending is among the highest in Oakland County. As this proposed tax increases for 6 years, it is very certain that Southfield tax base will continue to increase while school enrollments decrease and more tax dollars will leave the city than the 40% collected in the first year. So I thank you for passing this resolution. We will make this statement known to our residents via our website. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We'll now transition into communications. The Southfield City Council has established the following rules of procedure for all speakers. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to address the council. Each speaker is responsible for his or her comments, and the City of Southfield does not, by permitting such remarks, support, endorse, or accept the content thereof as being true or accurate. No speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official that is unrelated to the manner in which they perform their duties. No person shall use abusive, threatening language toward any individual when addressing the city council. Any person who violates this section shall be directed by the presiding officer to be orderly. If a person addressing the council refuses when so directed, such person may be deemed by the presiding officer to have committed a breach of the peace by disrupting and impeding the orderly conduct of the public meeting of the city council, and may be ordered by the presiding officer to leave the meeting. If the person refuses to leave as directed, the presiding officer may direct any law enforcement officer who is present to escort the violator from the meeting. The council may not provide responses to public comment during the meeting. If you have provided your contact information when you signed up for public communication, the city will provide a more formal response to you in the near future should it be needed. The council may respond to comments at the end of communications if they're able to do so. I see from those who've signed up, many have signed up for the same topic, so respectfully I ask that if comments are made similar to the ones that you're making, if you can kind of condense your comments to align with the information that was already shared. First person on the agenda, John Way, zoning on Inkster. If you can come to the podium, state whether you're a Southfield resident or not.
Good evening. My name is John Way. I'm a resident of Southfield. My address is 27223 Oxford Drive, Southfield, Michigan. So I'm going to kind of start off here. Let's say good evening to the City Council. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our concerns and our issues with Mary Mantle. I have been a lifelong resident of the city of Southfield for over 40 years. When I was first looking to purchase my first house, we chose Southfield. When we were ready to purchase our second house, and we had plenty of opportunities to go to other cities, but we found a wonderful place in Southfield called Parkview Estates. Basically, homes with a country setting. The main thing that drew me to this area was that it was surrounded by Robbie Gage Park. That would be untouched, and it was zoned residential, which was very important to me, which was very appealing to me as a homeowner. So let's talk about a few key issues with Mary's Mantle. Number one, security. Mary Mantle proposes to have security, and they will provide it for us. The only problem with that is we have a secure area. The reason why they're bringing security is because they're bringing an element of security because they need security to make the place safe. It's almost like me having my home and you bringing a correction facility next to my house, and then everybody's saying, okay, but we're going to provide security for it. That's not what the residents are looking for. Number two, the beautiful tranquility of where we are. Again, I had plenty of time to go other places and find somewhere to live. I chose that area because of specifically the way that it is. And I'm going to try to speed things up here because I think this is the main key point. Let's talk about taxes for a minute. I pay about $9,000 a year in taxes. They have been as high as $13,000 back in the day. So I checked Mary Mantle's to find out, and to my surprise, they pay for that house over there $235 a year for the last 10 years. It's insane because they're a nonprofit. When a Ford plant comes here and they want to build, they're offering jobs, they're bringing other things. So I understand wanting business. Mary Mantle is not bringing anything that's going to help us. We would like to see that area that's beautiful done with 10 homes in there, 15 homes. It's going to bring the tax base. That's what it's going to be all about for Southfield. I had a mayor just up here talking about taxes. That's the tax base we need. As far as them, the good doctor meant well when he said it's going to help minorities and bring minorities in. But the truth of the matter, he would have never stood up in West Bloomfield. This is a heartstring tug. He would have never stood up in West Bloomfield and said, I'm bringing in homeless and sheltered people in these other primary cities to say, hey, that was kind of an insult to us. He doesn't know that, but that's kind of where we are.
Thank you, sir.
I'll wrap up with that saying, but I did one of
Well,
last.
sir.
Yep, that's it. That was the one.
Thank you.
But taxes.
So, excuse me, everyone. I ask that you please refrain from clapping as people come to the podium. You definitely have the opportunity to speak, but we ask that you refrain from clapping and comments. Thank you.
To the chair, there is an actual dedicated public hearing later in the agenda for the
Yes, sir.
Mary's Mills project. I just wanted to make that out there. If it's on the agenda with its own public hearing, it'll get its own whole period.
So what the planner, what the deputy planner has indicated is that you have the opportunity to speak during the public hearing if you want to speak to this matter. You're out of order. Mr. Ricardo Walker, if you please come to the podium, state your name and whether you're a Southwood resident or not, sir.
Good evening, council members. My name is Ricardo Walker, and I live at 25765 Ravine Street, which is in the neighborhood directly affected by this proposed rezoning. I want to express my respectful but firm opposition to this changing this parcel from a residential estate to a residential unit development district zone. Our little section of the city has some uniqueness that add immensely to its charm. The multi-acre residential lots, the low-density layout, and the quiet rural character are defining features of this community. They are the primary reasons that so many of us have chosen to live there. This proposed change in designation, even for a well-intentioned project such as this, represents a permanent shift in land use patterns, which is a big problem. Once this precedent is set, it becomes significantly harder to protect the remaining residential parcels from similar requests in time. Over time, increased traffic, lighting, and activity will erode the valued rural characteristics that residents have invested in and maintained for decades. I also want to highlight the potential impact on property values. Multiple studies have found that introducing such uses into established low-density residential areas can reduce nearby home values, largely due to increased traffic, noise, and changes in neighborhood character. Research from the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy has shown that zoning stability itself, in this case, it's the predictability that an area will remain purely residential, is a key factor supporting long-term property values. So in general, when zoning becomes less predictable, buyer confidence decreases, and so do home values. Excuse me. Studies from several state housing and planning departments have also found that even a perceived encroachment of commercial activity can reduce buyer interest, even before any negative impacts actually occur. So you don't have to see the negative impact for the perception to be there. To be clear, my concern is not with the individuals the developer intends to serve, it is with the zoning change itself. The city already has appropriately zoned areas that can accommodate this type of facility without undermining the character and property values of a well-established single-family residential community. I respectfully ask the council to preserve the stability and rural character of our neighborhood, which requires that this rezoning request be denied. As the song goes, don't it always seem to go? Because you don't know what you got till it's gone. You pay paradise to put up a parking lot. We're respectfully requesting, as tax-paying and voting residents of this city, that you, as our elected officials, hear our voices and represent us by helping us to preserve our little piece of paradise. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Terrence Lake, please come to the podium, state your name and whether you're a Southwood resident.
Good evening, City Council and Chamber members and residents of Southfield. My name is Terrence Lake, and I'm a resident in Southfield. I live on Birch Ridge Street, and at this time, we're having our streets redone, repaved, and part of our driveways are being replaced, and I have a horseshoe driveway, so between the horseshoe, I had a asphalt parking area for 2 cars. And when they started doing the remodeling on our street, they disrupted by taking that parking area away. And we were asking the people that were in charge of that remodeling, are they going to replace it? And they said no. They decided that they weren't. They're going to replace it with grass. And I didn't move in there with grass. You know, we had the asphalt there. Why are they disrupting by removing this, and they want to replace it with grass? You know, and I'm a senior citizen, my wife and I, and you know, can't afford to redo it again. You know, or can there be anything done, some type of a compromise on, you know, help pay for this restructuring that parking area in front of my house? Well, that's all I have to say, and you have my name and everything. Maybe you can address the situation later on.
Hang tight to the end of communication, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Spencer, I don't want to butcher your last name, sir, so please come to the podium, state your name, and whether you're Southfield residents.
Hi, my name is Spencer McChesney. I live at 25206 Inkster Road, right next door to the proposed Mary Mantle building. I'm just here to oppose it, and I appreciate your time. I've been here 56 years in Southfield, and what a wonderful city it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Lula Savage, please come to the podium. Please state your name for the record and whether you're a Southfield resident, please.
My name is Lula Savage. I live at 27232 Oxford Drive, Southfield, Michigan, and I've been living in Southfield for about 20 to 25 years. I'm here to oppose the property on Inkster Road and 10 Mile. We've worked really hard on Oxford Drive, which is not very far away, to make that community look very good. I mean, we really worked really hard, and we just think it's somewhat unfair to put a transit housing in a residential area. We do understand that people are in need, but that's just not the area for it. They also say that it's going to be a maternity house. So maternity house, it may not be a medical facility, but they may, I'm sure they're going to administer medical services. So I just don't understand how residential area goes to a transit area. And the home that he has, the house that they currently have, is 4 people, 1 home. Now we're going to 14 townhouses. That's a big difference of a lot of people coming into the area that's transit. So I thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Kim Brown, please come to the podium, state your name and whether you're a Southfield resident for the record.
My name is Kimberly Brown. I'm a Southfield resident about 23 years and reside at 27257 Oxford Drive off of Inkster Road. I just wrote down what I'd like to express, but also thank the council for listening. First, I want to acknowledge that I understand the importance of supporting organizations that support assistance and care to individuals in need. Many of our community concerns are not rooted in opposition to helping others, but rather in the long-term impact this development may have on our surrounding residential neighborhood and the homeowners who have invested their lives and finances into this community. As residents and taxpayers, many of us have a vested interest in maintaining the stability of the character and quiet enjoyment of our neighborhood. One major concern is property value, and at this point, none of us truly know whether the rezoning and development will increase or decrease surrounding home values. Unfortunately, either outcome creates hardship for the residents. If property values decrease, homeowners may lose the appreciation and equity that they worked for over many years. On the other hand, if property values increase significantly, residents may face higher property taxes and greater financial burdens simply for remaining in the homes that they already own. In either case, residents bear the consequences of the decisions over which they have little control. Traffic and neighborhood activity are also important concerns. Increased traffic along Inkster Road and nearby residential streets may affect safety and congestion and the peaceful nature of the area. And additionally, because residents of the proposed facility are not, say, incarcerated and should reasonably have, opportunities for healthy social interaction and visitation, there should be thoughtful consideration given to how visitation and parking, gathering spaces and neighborhood integration will be managed in the manner that remains respectful and conducive to the surrounding residential environment. And so for the amount of taxes that the residents pay in that area, we believe we reserve or deserve the right to quiet enjoyment within our community, just as all taxpayers do. And I respectfully ask the council to carefully weigh the interests of current residents alongside the goals of this proposed rezoning before making the final decision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Lamar Williams.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Lamar Williams. I also live on Oxford Drive. I've been a resident for over 25 years in the city of Southfield. I'm a retired UPS driver, so I covered the city of Southfield, so I know it like the back of my hand. And when I found the subdivision on Oxford Drive, what drew me in that area was the quietness, the lot size, the homes leading to my subdivision. Most of those homeowners own between 1 to 4 acres, so we love the land and the landscaping of the area. Some of my biggest concerns with profit, nonprofit business coming in, even though it's residential homes, it's still a business. The value going down. He states that he's willing to pay something towards the city, but as a real estate investor, I also have a profit and nonprofit license. When I choose to help out someone to be able to go into home ownership, I put that under nonprofit. The next home I sell will be a profit. They have the right to do the same thing. The city will benefit residential homes going in and taxpayers paying towards the city, and we're not losing out on taxes. We have quite a few nonprofit organizations in the city, none of them pays taxes. Pretty soon we may become the old Detroit where everybody's nonprofit, nobody's paying taxes. We don't want our city to go down. A lot of things could be beneficial to the residents of the city by bringing more business in and more home ownership, that we get a better tax rate, and our value won't go down. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Rakesh Ramakishman.
Thank you, Council, and thank you, residents of Southfield, for allowing me to speak. I'm Dr. Rakesh Ramakrishnan. Just wanted to let you know, guys, that I'm running for state senate.
Excuse me, sir.
Here in Southfield.
We can't use the podium for self.
I apologize. I asked him up front. I'm really sorry, Charles. But anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Donna Voter. Voter? Please come to the podium, state your name and whether you're a Southfield resident for the record.
Good evening. My name is Donna Vader. I live at 25465 Ormond Drive. And our home is the backyard of the proposed site. And I just, our main concern is not Mary's Mantle. Our main concern is the pre-existing problems of the topography, the undulation, the water table, the flooding, our basement flooding every single time it rains. We have sump pumps going, and I was really kind of taken aback at at the planning meeting here when I said to one of the builders for Mary's Mantle about the water, that we're very concerned. He said, well, that's not our water, that's your water. And the problem with this is any building around that area is going to create significant runoff and flooding. The water table is such. The natural wildlife, that corridor that runs along the power line of the 7 acres, is considered a byway for wildlife. It protects the vehicles, it protects the residents, protects the animals. That's going to be wiped out. And if you take away the foliage, the scrub, the bushes, these trees, I've been there 45 years. These trees are 80, 90 years old that are dying every year, which is creating more and more flooding. So it's not Mary's Mantle specifically that's of concern. It is, you know, they put a ditch in today in front of my house. So thankful. The mayor came to our property, took pictures. So grateful to look at that. I was trying to send you all a video so you could see what's happening. The water is gushing out of this little pipe. That's what's in the ground. It hadn't even started to rain today. So, you know, I need 3 hours to impart my passion for where we live. We are there specifically for the quiet, for how dark it is, how quiet. Anybody that visits us says, my gosh, you live in Southfield? This is beautiful. You're like on an apple orchard. There's horses, there's goats, there's chickens. That's what's there. We don't have all that, but I certainly appreciate, and taking away 7+ acres in my backyard, I guess they're gonna come up 50 feet to our backyard and leave a wetland buffer of trees. And then I was told for every tree that comes out, they replace 2. I've researched it. You plant those trees, that root system that's intact right now cannot be replaced. The flooding will increase. I don't know whose problem that is. Ours.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm over
you're
5
fine.
seconds. Thank
You're
you.
fine. Thank you. Mr. Larry Vater. Vader? Vader, I'm sorry.
My name is Larry Vader, 25465 Ormond. Again, my wife made the presentation. It's not an issue we have with Mary's Mantle. It's a great thing. I really have to also applaud the mayor. He responded very, very promptly to us, came out, looked at the issue. Unfortunately, I don't know how many of you folks have seen my wife's emails, but irregardless, nobody has walked back to the west end of that property, okay? And so I have two issues. One is the environmental issue, okay? And the second issue is the safety for not only, let's say if this was to not pass, the safety for the residents at Mary's Mantle. There's no sidewalks. There's no real easy way, in other words, to get public services in there, police, fire, no grocery stores. The closest place that these folks could go and get any staples would be the liquor store at the 7-Eleven. So I just don't think that's a fit for either one of us. And I would think that it's on their burden to show how is that going to help the community. The second thing is the environmental issue. And like my wife said, is that I haven't been back there in 10 years, 15 years. I happened to walk in there after the last meeting, okay? And they said there's no standing water there. Well, I beg to differ with you. Because this is very crude, okay? But when you go from the south to the north, the land changes very, very rapidly. We have lakefront property, incidentally, down around 10 Mile. This is the first lot, standing water. They redid the culvert just recently, but unfortunately, the culvert is higher than the property in the back where the water runs off of that project property. So the end house, This is trying to water getting up to the next house. In there, or say no water area, I'm standing here with hip boots on or knee-high boots, and you can see how far the water is up in my boots. This is on their land. That has to come to our land. Now they're talking about a retention pond. The main problem there is it's a clay-based soil. So without vegetation and trees, there's no way for that water to disappear. The last thing is I gave a variance to our neighbor a couple years ago to build a house next door. Immediately after, there's a picture of my basement wall on the north side. So I really appreciate, your opportunity to share this, and I thank you.
Thank you, sir. Greg Keeler.
Southfield residents. A picture's worth 1,000 words, I told you. It would have been nice he would have had them pictures up there so all of us could have seen what he was showing you. You're going to let the vendor in a few minutes put their pictures up there, but you won't let the residents do the same thing. We should have the same opportunity. We voted y'all to be up there to represent us. So we should have that chance. Now, one of the things that brought me here to these city council meetings in the very beginning is exactly what they are here fighting about. Lawrence Tech rezoned my community, spot zone to be exact, so they could build a dorm. We came in, we fought, had the whole community come out. Lawrence Tech won. What Lawrence Tech did do at the end, which you have been seeing, Ms. Bland, is they said, oh, heck no to us having a sewer septic line. We lost 17 homes because of that. 17 homes. I would hate to see the same thing happen with these residents as they are coming here and they're fighting for their community. The same thing with Lawrence Tech. When they came over to my house from Lawrence Tech, they understood why we were fighting because of how tranquil and nice the area was at, we were lived at. Same thing they said here today. How nice and tranquil the area is. So keep that in mind that you are destroying taxpayers, getting rid of them out of this community, just for the simple process of rezoning for somebody else. Lawrence Tech did not return any favor to us. One other thing I wanted to say was, when you also have your chamber meetings and you have in that room next door where it only holds 49 people, these people wouldn't have been able to come in there and been in that room and been able to voice their opinion. People with disabilities and people trying to get out of there in case of a fire, that is a fire hazard. You made that room big enough for y'all to stretch out your legs and everything else and sit in there comfortably. But you have made that room miserable for us. We are in there like a packed bunch of sardines. Why? We cannot walk from seat to seat, move from side to side without stepping on each other's feet and everything else. But it's nice and comfortable over here. We're in that room where it only holds 49.
Thank you, sir.
And it's 22 of y'all.
Thank you. I ask again that the community stop with the commentary. Lawrence Paturo. Lawrence, I'm sorry, if it's Vituro. Rachel Bynes.
Good evening, Council. My name is Rachel Vines. I'm a resident of Southfield on Providence, 15700 Providence Drive. I'm also a homeowner in the city of Detroit. I'm here to talk about gun violence. I am a victim and survivor of gun violence, and I just want to say that I appreciate the passing and approval for the Gun Violence Month, and I appreciate the Brady organization as well. Thank you.
Bart Eddy.
Good evening, council members. My name is Bart Eddy, and I live at 25525 Ormond. My wife and I have been residents of Southfield for 26 years, and I do want to speak to the Mary's Mantle situation. I think we all know that we're at a time now we are facing extraordinary weather events. This means, and I think we've all seen this, the intensity of the storms, rain, whatever, has increased. And my concern really has to do with the residents who live below me. I live on the north end of Ormond Drive. We're not affected by the water there, but my neighbors to the south of me, so 4 or 5 homes, experience flooding in their basements continuously. So I do have that similar concern, as you've heard already, about runoff situation from the 7.5 acres there. And I'm hoping that if this proposal should go through, that there be some study there as to how to mitigate that from having a spillover into Ormond and the residents there, right down to the end to Inkster Road. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Susan Eddy.
My name is Suzanne Eddy, and I've been a member of the Southfield community for 26 years and lived on Ormond Drive, 25525. And it is a wonderful city to live in, and we have really appreciated to being here. Now, I would like to say I'm really concerned, no matter what is happening to that area, about the nature, trees, animals, and because once that's gone, it's not replaceable, or it would take so much to replace it. And I'm very concerned about what Donna and Larry Vater have said, and I fully support them because they are actually suffering from this problem with the water runoff. And so that is, those are my main concerns, not so much Mary's Mantle. No matter what happens with that area, that has to be carefully considered so that nature is not destroyed for the animals, for the trees, for the people, and I would say for the larger population, because we know how important the trees and how important nature is. So that would be my primary request, in no matter what kind of decisions you will make, that is considered. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Pamela Gerald.
I just wanted to say to all the residents that when you sign up to speak for communications, that you can speak about anything that you want to talk about. If there's also a public hearing about a matter that you're talking about, you have to say and speak about what's germane to that particular public hearing. I walked over to Tom and said, Tom, basically, you can't give people the impression or try to get them to condense their comments to just only say something for the public hearing. And he acted as if he couldn't hear because someone was speaking. But you were over here talking with Kyle and someone that came in late that wants the opportunity
Order.
to speak. And he was talking. Greg Keeler was talking. So you need to, and when I say you need to, this whole body needs to be concerned about how you treat people. Just because you got a name tag up there on the dais does not give you privilege, does not make you better than us, because the citizens will always be at the top of the organizational chart paying you your salary. Now, these people have told you that this is a bad idea for their community. I want to see who's going to be the brave person to rubber stamp this issue and make a motion to approve the rezoning. I mentioned to the doctor about the property on 12 Mile in Inkster, the Sarah Fisher home across from Michigan Veterinarian Specialist. And he said, oh, that property is already owned by Robertson Homes. They're going to put 70 homes in there. So if he's looking to spend $20 million on this particular project, those homes are going to be between 2,000 and 3,100 square feet. How many homes can you buy for $10 million? Probably 20. If the houses are going for like 350, you can buy 10 homes and put them right there in that community. It's a lot of offset from the road from 12 Mile and Inkster, and it would be a great community. Now, the property on Farmbrook, he knew for about 2.5 years that it was a vacant lot next door, 6 acres. Did you put in a bid for that? I don't know if he did or didn't. I'm just saying. So there's a sale pending on it now. I would encourage you to follow up to see if the sale goes through, and if it doesn't, since the people on that street like what it is because it looks like a house, it doesn't look like a commercial business, then buy the lot on Farmbrook if that sale doesn't go through. But where you want to put a commercial property, it is not good for my brothers and sisters, residents, for their area. When they bought the property based on peace and quiet and rural and a lot of acreage, you can't just come and thrust a project into an area because it would be considered hodgepodge. That's what Fracassi said.
James Jenkins. You're out of order again, ma'am. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes, you don't have to ask. Speak to the council, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm James Jenkins, and I'm happy to be here because I want to make sure things are done right, okay, for our community. I've been living in the city of Southfield for 50 years. I lived on Twickenham first, now I live on, you know where I live, on Inkster, okay? And I just want to make sure this proposed effort does not bring my value of my property down. I didn't say it. Brenda Lawrence said, I got the most property in Oakland County, okay? And I just want to make sure we're doing this right because I don't want my property value going down, and I don't want to be on air saying what that property, who owned that property before I got there, but it's somebody famous y'all definitely know, okay? And I just want to make sure, again, can I ask the question, is the property value going up or down? I'm talking about our property in the area. So if we can't answer that, that means we don't know. And my concern is to make sure that we do the right thing for our community to make sure the values of city of Southfield goes up, not down, okay? And I'm not saying, and another thing, like you said, zoning. Does this meet zoning requirements, okay? And if it don't meet zoning requirements, then you can't, just can't put something somewhere because somebody wants to do something, okay? And again, my name is Jim Jenkins. I own, well, I ain't gonna give how many acres I own, okay? But I own a lot of property, okay? Y'all know where I am, because I'm trying to do the right thing for our community, and I get offers all the time, but I said no, okay? Because I love where I live at, okay? And I just want the best thing for our city of Southfield. I've been living in, most people can't say I've been living in the city of Southfield for 50 years. I'm here for a reason. I was here before everybody else was here. A lot of people was here anyway. Can we just make sure that we understand the property value not just from me, anybody in the area should not be concerned about their property value going down because of this new project that y'all that suggested, okay? And with that understanding, I'll say thank you.
Thank you, sir. Many of you have voiced concern and questions regarding one of the projects that will be discussed later on in this meeting, so we won't address that at this time. But there was a gentleman who had a concern regarding parking in front of his home, and I would like to defer to the administrator or to the director on how you want to respond to him, whether it be outside in the hall.
I'm sorry, Mr. Siddiqui, our public director, is in the audience, sitting right behind the gentleman. If you can talk about that horseshoe driveway in the street.
So Mr. Lake, if you can look behind, there's a gentleman who's raising his hand. If you don't mind meeting with him in the hallway to discuss your concern. Continuing on in the agenda, we have 3 sets of minutes to discuss.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to move that we approve the committee of the whole meeting minutes for April 21st, the regular meeting minutes of April 27th, and the committee of the whole meeting minutes for May 4th.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Councilwoman Bland. Are there any corrections, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Consent agenda. These are items that are considered routine, non-controversial, or have previously been discussed. Are there any items that council has a question that would like to have pulled for additional clarity or comment?
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve consent agenda item A, authorization to purchase fleet vehicles. B, authorization to purchase de-icing salt. C, Granger purchase contract. D, 8 Mile Greenfield lighting project, MOU. E, request public hearing date for the CDBG program. And F, approval of DTE billing agreement to relocate streetlights for the 9 Mile Pathway project.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue, supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any additional question or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Public hearings. Item A, PZR 26-0002, the request to rezone a vacant 1.01 acre parcel on the east side of Kiefer Street, Southfield, Michigan.
Good evening, Council. My name is Kyle Bryce, Senior Planner here at the city. I'll be taking this item. So this is PZR 26-0002 and PSP 26-0004. Petitioner Carl Garrett. This is a vacant, unaddressed lot. We are located on the east side of Kiefer Street between Hazelhurst and Sargent. This is just west of Telegraph between 8 and 9, getting a little closer to 9. The existing zoning for this site, along with several of the other residential properties around it, is IL Light Industrial. The applicant is proposing a rezoning to RT attached single family. The purpose of this is to construct a new 2-family attached residential building on that vacant lot. If you look at the screen, you'll see the current zoning on the left. So we do have the I-1 industrial up against Telegraph, and then further into the neighborhood on both sides of Kiefer, it's zoned IL Light Industrial, even though those are several residential homes. We understand that there was a rezoning in the late 90s, maybe the early 2000s, that rezoned this area to light industrial. It should be noted there is a light industrial building abutting the property to the south. In terms of the future land use, this site still falls under the moderate density single family. We took a look at current IL permitted uses. So again, these are uses that could go directly into the site right now as it stands. So these are things that are charged with the principal function of basic research design of experimental products, any kind of research in office related to permitted industrial operations, any of the following within a completely enclosed building. So that's items like wholesaling, manufacturing all kinds of different items that are on the list there. So it really does allow for a lot of manufacturing and industrial uses right now, and the applicant is looking to go away from that into attached single family. This is just a continuation of the list of IL permitted uses, more warehousing, recreation centers, dark stores, ghost restaurants, indoor recreation centers. So it's quite a list. And again, that's the current zoning. There are a few uses on the IL zoning list that caught our eye. So obviously these are special land uses, and these typically have buffer requirements that keep them away from residential uses. So just for your knowledge and for the public's knowledge, medical marijuana is not allowed at the current site because it's within 500 feet. That's also true for adult use marijuana in firearm sales establishments. So those are ruled out already. If we were to rezone to RT as the applicant proposes, in terms of what is permitted there, it's one family attached dwelling townhouses with not less than 3 attached units. And then accessory buildings that typically go along with that, so sheds, detached garages, things like that. The reason that the site plan is being brought to you tonight instead of being approved at Planning Commission is that 3 attached unit minimum. So in our zoning ordinance, it says the City Council may, after a recommendation from the Planning Commission, permit 1 family detached dwellings and 1 family attached dwellings of less than 3 attached units when they are found to be reasonably necessary and convenient for the satisfactory and efficient development of a complete townhouse district, and necessary for the creation of effective density development, necessary for the extension of a single family character in a single family residential area. This is a site aerial. As you can see, it's pretty heavily wooded. And these are existing conditions. I think driving by, you'll see a lot of scrub trees right up against the road, but it is a pretty wooded lot throughout. This is a site plan. It's a pretty basic layout with the duplex, so to speak, up front with 2 of the garages. These are front and rear elevations. So you have the west elevation, that's up front. That's going to be facing the street. And the east elevation facing the rear is on the bottom. These are floor plans. So pretty standard mirrored layout. We have 3 bedrooms and 2 baths in each unit. The applicant has been working with us to submit a landscape and tree protection plan. So tree surveys are pretty robust here in terms of development like this. So the applicant is following up and working with us as we go through that. So at this time, I think it's appropriate to invite the petitioner up to make their comments. So again, we do have the rezoning and the site plan before you tonight.
So if the petitioner will please come to the podium, state your name and any information about your project that you believe pertinent.
Good evening, and thank you. My name is Carl Garrett. We currently reside at 27633 Lasher. That's the Park House Senior Living Complex. We moved there 5 years ago with my mom because of her health conditions, and she passed this past September. At that point, my wife and I started looking for some place to build a home in Southfield as we had grown to really love the community. And we had an opportunity to also, my adult daughter, who has agreed to live there in the other unit with us. So this would be our home. My wife and I living in one unit, and our adult daughter living in the other, and we look forward to continue to reside here in Southfield. This is our builder. I asked him to come tonight just in case you have some technical questions regarding the bill that I wouldn't be able to answer. He'll certainly be able to do that for you.
Okay. Well, sir, if you don't mind, maybe taking a seat in the front row, both of you. We will now open up this public hearing for the public to weigh in. So we now will open a public hearing for PZR 26-0002, the request to rezone a vacant 1.01 acre parcel on the east side of Kiefer Street. If you have a comment on this item, if you please come to the podium, state your name for the record.
Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. Anytime we get someone in this great city that I've loved for over 40 years that want to build a house, it means something good. I think to build two houses attached to each other reminds me of my days, because I'm from Brooklyn, New York, that you had brownstones and you had duplexes. And usually families lived in the entire brownstone, maybe 2 or 3 levels, 4 levels, and they lived side by side. So to hear that his daughter is going to move next door is absolutely incredible. And if none of the other houses in that area, because they do sit low to the ground, are going to be affected in terms of him building 2 separate units, that would be about 1,200 square feet, I would certainly be in favor of PZR 26-0002 for that rezoning of that vacant lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Again, my name is Jim Jenkins. Before I didn't give you my address is 27367 West 10 Mile Road. I own 10 acres on the corner of 10 Mile and Inkster. I'm concerned about this, by the way, for the record, at one time, this was the Henry Ford's house. I'm talking about the Henry Ford's house, okay? Does anybody know that? If you don't, I'm letting you know right now. If he was there, would somebody make sure that my property value does not go down? That's all I ask, okay? And here's another thing. Anytime you're building something,
Sir,
huh?
it has to be related to this specific item.
I didn't hear what you
For
said.
the public hearing, your comments should be reflective of the specific project that's being discussed.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
I said, when you come to the podium for a public hearing on a specific topic, your comments have to be tied and related to that specific item.
Well, it's tied to it because, again, a question is the value of my property going down? Also, from a construction standpoint, I want to know this. Every time you do construction, there's a timing for it. I want to know what's the schedule for something like this, and make sure that the contractor has insurance. Is the city of Detroit going to be indemnified, hold harmless for anything that has to do with him doing construction? Because those are the kind of things that you got to be concerned with when somebody's doing construction, okay? Because if somebody gets hurt, they can sue, they can sue the cities as well, okay? And I just want to make sure, is the guy going to be, you identify the city?
Excuse me, sir.
Okay.
Please address, yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, that should be part of the effort. Okay, he's got to indemnify the city and hold the city harmless with his insurance effort, okay? Again, I just want my property value to make sure that that we're doing the right thing for our community, not just for me, but for our community as well, okay?
Understood. Thank you, sir.
Jim Jenkins, okay?
Thank you, sir.
You got a horse? Yeah, I had horses at one time as well, okay? I know that has nothing to do with it. And listen, I can talk what I want to say. Say what you want to say. Don't be interrupting me, okay? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
For this project here, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
John Way, again, 27223 Oxford Drive. Again, I'm a utility worker. I've been all over the state looking at all different types of homes, and like I said, I decided to stay here. It's wonderful to see that this project here doesn't change the aesthetics. The neighborhood looks better. It's going to add taxes because his taxes is going to go up because he's adding, so that's a good thing. I have no problem with this whatsoever. Good luck to you. I hope that you succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other comments on this item? Any other comments on this item? The public hearing for this item is now closed. Mr. Planner?
So at this time, I mean, we'll take any council questions or comments about this item.
So if the petitioners can please come back to the podium to respond to any of the questions lifted thus far, or to answer any questions of council. But we'll start with, do you have any responses to any of the items lifted in public?
Well, I'd just like to thank the citizens that came up and spoke on our behalf. And it is a ranch-style home, so it's not a two-story, and it matches the other homes along the same side of the street. It's ranch-style.
Well, before I turn it over to council, I applaud you, because I think I'm gonna end up going down the pathway you're going, because there's no way my daughter's ever leaving the house. So what you're doing is you're being a visionary on my behalf. Council, do you have any questions for the petitioner?
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve the request to rezone a vacant parcel on the east side of Kiefer Street as the parcel number listed from industrial to RT attached. Sorry, colleagues.
You both said it at the same time. Okay, so thank you, Council President Pro Tem Hogue, supported by Councilwoman Yolanda Haynes. Any additional questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
President,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
move that we introduce ordinance number 1838. Support.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue, supported by Councilwoman Bland. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Yeah,
Mr. President,
yes.
I move that we approve site plan, or did you want to present anything, planner?
Sorry, say that again, please.
Were you going to say anything?
She wants to do
I'm gonna go right into
a
B.
motion for site plan.
I think we just wanted to note the condition.
Yeah, I was going
one of
to
the,
say
yeah.
with conditions.
So for this, we recommend approval, and it did receive a recommendation for approval from the Planning Commission based on these conditions related to its appearance, its coordination with adjacent sites, public services, its site design characteristics, vehicular circulation and access. And I also want to note these two conditions. So one of these came up during the Planning Commission. The site and building shall be developed consistent with the...
Excuse me, can the audience please refrain from talking? Thank you. Last warning.
With the revised site plan set prepared by Next Modular Incorporated per revision submitted April 21st, 2026. This is the important part. Said plans to be revised to provide a covered front porch for both units, so that'll be amended and will come to us for final review. And then, of course, continuous compliance with all applicable ordinances, codes, laws, and statutes, and all work to be performed under plans, permits, and inspections approved by the city of Southfield.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve site plan PSP 26-0004 with the conditions stated by the Planning Department for the vacant lot on Kiefer Street.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue, supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any discussion on this item? Yes, ma'am.
I'd just like to say good luck. I think it's very admirable what you and your daughter are doing, and thank you.
Well, thank you.
For
Thank
sure.
you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I want to say best wishes to you also, and also let the public be aware that with the housing bills that are going on now, this is why we need local control of zoning and planning instead of the bills that are coming forth to blanket us all into doing one thing with housing. So we're going to talk more about that later, but something like this is something that we have control over and we can do in our city without the state taking control of it. So congratulations to you and best wishes.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Open to all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Item C, PZR 26-0003, the request to rezone a parcel with an existing industrial building located at 18940 West 8 Mile Road, Southfield, Michigan.
Good evening again, Council. This is PZR 26-0003. The petitioner is Southfield Signs LLC. They're the owner and tenant of the building. This is 18940 8 Mile Road, just on the corner of Stahalin Road. So the existing zoning for this site is IL Light Industrial. They're proposing a rezoning to I1 Industrial. So those are pretty comparable zonings. There are some slight differences in the ordinance, but primarily the reason the applicant is going through this is due to dimensional differences in the schedule of regulations. So they're looking to build a detached storage building along the north property line, and that just is not possible with the current IL zoning. So they do seek to rezone from light industrial to regular industrial to make that happen. On your screen, you'll see the current zoning. So it does abut I1 Industrial, which is their proposed zoning to its west. To the north, there is a P for parking and a little bit of a residential buffer, so that's not a house that abuts them to the north, but it is a residential zoning. Across Stahalin, you will see OS Office Service and then R2 Residential. So just beyond the screen, kind of going up, there is some residential zonings. In terms of the future land use, the site does show for local mixed use, and it abuts the industrial to its west. I recapped this in our previous item, but there are a number of IL permitted uses. They're generally related to warehousing and industrial manufacturing. There are, of course, a few other items here too, recreation centers and dark stores and ghost restaurants, indoor rec centers, things like that. There are, of course, our special land uses within the IL zoning district, and these are things that sometimes have buffer uses from residentially zoned property. So as of right now, even under their current, excuse me, IL zoning, they cannot go for a medical marijuana or an adult use marijuana because they are within 500 feet of residentially zoned property. So in terms of what they are rezoning to, the I1 industrial zoning list has a number of uses. They are also a bit similar. There's manufacturing, there is general office associated with manufacturing, a lot of manufacturing, restaurants without drive-throughs. In terms of special land uses for those folks who are on 8 Mile, specifically, this is where we have uses like a contractor office, automotive repair, self-storage, several of our different types of vehicle dealerships. We wanted to note to you all that several of these uses likewise are just not going to be permitted no matter what. And so those are things like sexually oriented businesses, medical marijuana, adult use marijuana, specifically the grower and processors, and firearms sales establishments, and also crematoriums. So these are not allowed because of that residential, which is nearby. This is an aerial of the site. So you can see there's some nearby, outdoor storage, which is part of the reason why we're here tonight, to get that addressed and cleaned up and put in a storage unit. These are existing conditions on both sides of the street. So on the bottom, you are standing in the middle of 8 Mile looking north, and then on the top one, you're standing on Stahalin looking west. This is a conceptual site plan, so the applicant has not submitted the site plan just yet. And per the ordinance, all IL and I1 zone properties are administratively conducted by the planning department, so a site plan will not be coming to this body. But this is the conceptual site plan. North is looking to the left, so you can see the building up on 8 Mile and the proposed storage building on the west, which is the north side of the property. So at this time, I think it'd be appropriate to bring up the petitioner just to explain this process and why he's here.
Sir, please come to the podium, state your name for the record, and anything pertinent you want to share related to your endeavor.
Hello, Council. My name is Mose Tuna. I own and I'm the tenant/landlord for 18940 West 8 Mile Road. I've been working in Southfield for over 20 years. I've been at this facility almost 10 years now. Just our business is getting bigger. So We just need to clean up our lot and make life easier for us, and to clean up our lot and just keep the business. Tom and the guys pretty much went through everything and explained everything. I really don't have anything else to say, but we just need this property to help store some of our outdoor material indoor and to secure our vehicles also.
So, sir, if you can please have a seat in the front row. We will now open up the public hearing for PZR 0DD 25-0003. Nope, sorry, correction. PZR 26-0003, the request to rezone a partial with existing industrial building located at 18940 West 8 Mile Road. If you have any comments on this item, please come to the podium. State your name and address for the record.
Okay. John Way, 27223 Oxford Drive. So if I'm understanding this correct, that's industrial, right? And the other left side is industrial, right side is industrial. He's light industrial and wants to go to industrial, correct? Is that what he's trying to do?
Yes.
Common sense and industrial. Let's see it.
Are there any other comments? Please state your name and address for the record.
PG, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. My telephone number is still the same, 248-346-0439. I think what he's trying to do is amazing. You know, we talk about we want businesses to come in our community, and then sometimes we don't want to do the zoning. We want to put all these terms and conditions, and, you know, look at some of the things that we do in our own backyard. The people try to put terms and conditions on what you do, and you don't like it. So I'm going to just say to this guy, I applaud you for what you're doing. You could take your business and go anyplace else, but you're deciding to stay in Southfield. That area could use a little TLC, and anything that you can do to make your business what you need it to be for the people that you cater to, I am all for it. So thank you for staying in Southfield, and good job and good luck.
Any other comment? This public hearing is now closed. Mr. Petitioner, if you could please come back to the podium. Mr. Planner. Mr. Planner.
So at this time, we'll take any council questions and comments.
Council, do you have any questions for the petitioner?
Mr. Chair?
Sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve PZR 26-0003.
It's been moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Council President Pro Tem Hogue. Any additional question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to introduce ordinance number 1839.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Council President Pro Tem Hogue. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, council.
Thank you, council.
Okay, item E. PZRR-UDD 26-0001, the request to rezone the 7.52 vacant parcel along east side of Inkster Road between West 10 Mile and Geron.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As noted, this is a residential unit development district proposal, which is like a type of planned unit development. You're rezoning effectively to the project. So there would be a development agreement, and the site plan approval is folded in to the approval if the council acts on it in that way. Would note that 16 townhouses is a little dated. It's 14. They did reduce the number. That slide's a little dated. But as noted here, it's on Inkster Road, north of 10 Mile, south of Jorund, a little east of Ormond. Largely wooded site. It's got a utility easement running through the middle. You can kind of see there. The site is currently zoned RE, single-family residential, and it is future land use planning was for low-density single-family. This is facing northeast on Inkster, the site to the right. So it is, you know, you kind of have a clear area of grass, and then there's a lot of trees and understory vegetation. Planner Code did ask them to prepare a parallel plan so we could look at the potential density if they were to develop the site under the current RE zoning. If they ran a cul-de-sac more or less down the middle and created compliant lots, it would create about 14 lots in this arrangement. Though this arrangement, we would note, because it's not a cluster arrangement, would lead to more of the site being cleared for grading to create this arrangement. So a traditional development of this type would lead to most of the site being mass graded. Site aerial and conceptual layout. This is revised. As you can see, they shrank the one building, the 6-unit building. There was a 2 building on top. There's two fours. One of the fours was a 6. They eliminated 2 of the units, kind of tucked that in a little bit. Went to a hammerhead with the fire department, after talking to the fire department, instead of the circular cul-de-sac, because it made for less tree clearing. They also reduced the amount of parking as well, from I think it was about 80 or so spaces down to about 53. Site plan in a little more detail here. As you can see, you've got the maternity house and the community center building, that's the private community building, and then you get the 6-unit townhouses on the north side and then the 2 4-unit townhouses. And then the detention area in the southwest corner. Maternity house, as you can see, this is a little bit more dormitory style or suite style dormitory style, where you've got 2 bedrooms with a bath in between. There are 8 rooms, and then there's a room for a caretaker to live in the house as well, and then some office space for like support services. Fairly substantial, like a fairly residential ranch style architecture. Community buildings, similar architecture. In this case, they've got the child care center on the left, and then they've got their community space on the right, with some office space as well for some additional offices and support services. Townhomes, as you can see, these are just basically this is a 4-unit building, but the 6-unit building is just 2 more of these units tacked on. So these are mirror image, 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhouses. The architecture, once again, kind of compatible with the other 2 buildings, sort of a ranch-style elongated building. They provided a few renderings here. The top is the entrance from Inkster. And there's showing, I think that's either the community building or the maternity house up in the bottom right or bottom left. And on the bottom right, there's some parking there, probably by the other building. Maybe that's the community building. The Planner Code did go through a bunch of the comments that were received from the public and had me prepare these slides to kind of answer some of those questions. We did ask the city assessor to perform an analysis of the potential impact on property values using standard property valuation techniques that the assessor is certified in. His determination was that given the resident architectural nature of the development, it really would have no negative impact on the surrounding residential properties in terms of property value. It was not going to create any what they call external obsolescence, negative impacts that would cause those properties to lose value. He has a fairly long memo, I believe I included in your packet, explaining in more detail, but this is just a summary. But we did have the city's assessor actually look into the matter. Flooding and drainage, we had the city engineer and the public works folks look at this. First thing the city engineer noted was because this is a development with multiple units, it'll have to meet the commercial stormwater requirements. They have to contain all their stormwater on site. It'll go to the pond, and the overflow from that will go to a storm sewer in Inkster. None of it will be allowed to flow onto other properties as a standard for modern stormwater management. The site does have a general slope from the north to the south and a little bit from the west to the east. So there's a general native flow there, but as this site is developed, all of the roofs, the pavement, and the areas they clear would have to be collected and placed into the stormwater system that they're going to have to build, which is in their plans. Public Works did look at the area along R1. They did note that the ditches along R1 needed work. The 2 most northerly lots were dry except for small amounts of water at the west property line along the wooded area. That is the higher end. It slopes downward to the south. This is from the public works folks who went out there. 2 southerly lots had scattered water throughout most of the area of these lots, especially the most southerly lots, but not very deep. Existing water appeared to have been sitting for some time. Along the west property line, the tree line, it does look as though water from the wooded area Does not look as though water from the area is spilling over onto these properties at this time. It appears that the water table is seasonally high, or that these are poorly drained, or these are poorly drained soils. Area slopes gently from north to south, and then the topography map is on the right there. Parking, the city planner went over the plans in more detail and was able to adjust the parking requirement. He has some discretion there in terms of interpreting best practices, particularly with the RUDD. So what they did was, it had previously been 86 required, but looking at it, first of all, they reduced the number of units from 16 to 14 townhomes. The children in the daycare are the children who are living on site. So by counting the extra daycare parking, we were double counting people that were already included in the staff parking and the parking for the residents.
Excuse me, gentlemen, I'm gonna need you all, if you wanna have a conversation, go in the hallway.
And the users of the private community building, once again, these are the residents and staff of the facility, so, and their guests, so those were already counted in the staff parking requirement and in the residential parking requirement. So effectively, we were double counting for the daycare and for the community space. Eliminating that double counting lowered the requirement from 81 spaces to 50, from 86 to 50, and then they were able to adjust the plan to reduce the number of provided spaces from 81 to 53, which they think will be more than adequate for their use. If this property were developed on 14 large lot residences, you'd probably have at least 4 cars potentially per household, because you could put 2 in the garage and typically it's 2 in the driveway. So it would not be uncommon for there to be 48 parking spaces effectively in a neighborhood with 14 large lots. Lighting, I know this was a concern. They did provide a lighting pan with a photometric study. It's a little hard to read here, but all the way around the perimeter, it's 0-foot candles. The bulk of the lighting is in the core, and it's all shielded, downward-facing, cut-off light fixtures. The only place you get lighting to the edge is where the driveway comes in from Inkster. There's some lighting there for safety. And then at the maternity house, there is some lighting there by the garage that goes to the side of the maternity house for the caretaker. That lighting drops off to 0.1-foot candle at the property line, and the limit is 0.2 under our lighting ordinance. Their max foot candle density allowed is 10. Their highest is 7.1. And the light pole height, the mounting height of the light fixtures is 16 feet, which is below the 20-foot limit we have. And the closest light pole is that residential neighborhood to the north by the maternity house, and that's 60 feet from the property line to the closest light pole. With regard to a few other items, security, there will be a 24-hour caretaker living with the ladies in the maternity house, and then a resident couple living in one of the townhomes. So there will be on-site folks 24/7. Fencing, the city planner's opinion was that full site perimeter fencing or around the core of the site at the setback line would require substantially more woodland and tree clearing, and would actually would be more disruptive to wildlife, because it would actually constrain their movements in unnatural ways. Fencing around the playground area, which is proposed, is a reasonable safety measure, as such areas are typically fenced at daycares and schools for safety and access control reasons. So you can't have a kid just kind of jet off from the playground and lose track of them. Tree removal and replacement, as noted, clustered developments of this sort do end up clearing less land than a traditional development will do. And I would note, we did know, looking at the old aerial photos, that the Oxford development was wooded like this site before it was cleared to build the homes that are there now. So, if you did a more traditional development like was done on Oxford, you would clear almost this entire site, because that's more or less what happened over there. Tree preservation ordinance does require a 2-to-1 replacement ratio for any tree over 6 inches in diameter. And landmark trees, the larger trees, actually have a higher replacement ratio, and there are some larger landmark trees in here. They are, you can see in this, the red trees are the ones that are having to come out for the development. The green is all stuff they're trying to retain. And then they have in black, you'll see where they're trying to infill with new plantings where there's openings. This will get a little more mature as it goes along and they get into like more construction detail, but this is kind of where they're at with conceptual site plan. And at this point, it might be good to have the petitioner come up.
Sir, please state your name for the record and anything that you deem pertinent for your endeavor.
Cool. Thank you. Yes, hi, Dr. Ken Kernan, 25657 Farmbrook Road, Southfield, Michigan. I'm the current board president of Mary's Mantle. So a couple things, I appreciate the time to do this and speak in front of you. A couple things just to go through I would consider really housekeeping. You know, we're a Catholic home that cares for and supports expectant mothers in partnership with the Archdiocese of Detroit. It's important to know the mothers do not need to be Catholic, and we are open and have had women of all faiths and denominations. This is not just housing, this is structured and intentional programming, which is also focused on accountability, stability, education, and success. I heard that we were a medical facility. I'm proud to say we've never delivered a baby in our 16 years at Mary's Mantle, and we do no medical care while we're there, so we are strictly housing. We are not a business, and we're definitely not a commercial business. We are a faith-based, pastoral charity supporting undeserved or underserved populations currently located in a residential area in your city. We've delivered approximately 115 children to date. Over the years, we've had incredible success stories of our moms who've gone on to become real estate professionals, medical professionals, home health care professionals. We have tremendous success stories, and a lot of those women ultimately reside in the city of Southfield. Our new mission, as Thomas said, will expand to approximately 6 to 8 moms in the maternal house, and then 13 of those 14 townhouses will be occupied by a mom who's had a pregnancy. And it allows them to have stability and grow and go to school and go to work and get a job. And so really that's where that transition housing is so critical. And again, that's modeled after Alcoholics Anonymous, where we know that transitional community, that living in a community changes people's lives, people going through similar things. The community center is for our community only. It basically is secondary for a nursery for the moms, for their babies when they're going to school or going to work. So I think that's important. It's not open to the general public. There's also a private chapel there for our residents and staff. A couple things about daily structure. All mothers are required to be either working or in school or both. They followed a personalized structured plan leading them to success and stability. They all have background checks. It's a drug and alcohol-free environment with mandatory screening. So we're probably your safest and best neighbors, right? I mean, everybody is screened and tested on a regular basis. There are curfews on the weekends at 10 p.m. Weekdays, it's 9 p.m. Any parenting by the father is done in an agreed place off-site. 75% of our women have been African American. 40% actually reside in Oakland County, and a significant amount have come from Southfield and stay in Southfield afterwards. In 15 years of being your neighbor in Southfield, we have had exactly 0 police incidents in our current home. No complaints from our neighbors. I also heard that these women are likened to be incarcerated or things like that. Their only crime is that they want to have their child, and they maybe have been kicked out of their house by their family and have nowhere else to turn. So this is a voluntary structured program, and to say that these women are similar to incarcerated and unsafe is absolutely incorrect. We have full-time 24/7 staff. We figure that during the day there'll be probably 5 to 6 staff members at one time. Again, there will be a couple in one of the townhouses that will basically provide support and mentoring to the women. Financial security, we do not take or require any government funding. We are fully funded with a very large donor base. One of the questions came up last time is why Southfield, right? Why do we want to be here? Well, first of all, we've looked at a bunch of other cities, Detroit, Livonia, Farmington, all over the place. But we like Southfield. We've been here for 16 years. We've actually looked at 3 pieces of property in the city of Southfield, and none of which made it to Planning Commission because they just weren't the right property. One really was a flood zone. One was actually on Farm Brook, and there was some difficulty with that led us to turn away from it. If we look at the environmental effect of all this, I won't repeat everything Thomas said because he did a great job, versus the approved site plan, our goal is your goal. We want to preserve as much of that natural character and beauty of that property as possible. And if you looked at when you drive by, basically, you're going to basically just see a driveway with trees, which is, whoops, one back here. There we go. That top one is basically what you're going to look by. If you drive by right now, you just see trees. So there'll be a trees with driveway, and that'll be the entrance that anybody will ever see. And again, I think the current proposal, we're going to have a 50-foot forestry boundary around the entire property. And that townhouse option significantly reduces all types of wildlife displacement. Again, Thomas talked about cutting the parking. That preserves almost 60% of the green space on that property. If you look at the parallel plan, it destroys almost all of the green space. The boundaries to our neighbors go from 50 feet down to 30 feet. So all the things that they're concerned about, we're concerned about, and we're their best option. We give them the most preservation of that beautiful space. The lighting proposal Thomas talked about, and again, I think traffic someone talked about the water table. I'll leave that up to them. They talked about that. I don't think that's a problem, or will be a problem. It may be a problem now, but my standard joke is we don't own the property now, so we can't do anything about it, but we will definitely make sure going forward that everything is fine. I think they talked about property values. We purchased our home in 2014 for about $250,000. The property values in our area have gone up. We currently were appraised at about $370,000, so I don't think we've had negative impact on our community. I would say we've had a positive impact on our community. I also think it's unrealistic for homeowners to think, hey, I bought this in this area 40 years ago and it's never going to get developed. At some point it's going to get developed, and we could just put the parallel plan there and it's not going to be as pretty and it's not going to preserve that beauty. So we want to do all of that. Again, the current owner of the property, Mr. Nader, I think has owned it for about 60 years. I believe he's been in front of Planning Commission over the years trying to build something that's been more dense. So again, I think this is a great option for us. Lastly, we talked about some neighbors, and the neighbors have had some issues after one of the Planning Commission meetings. Katie Montes, our executive director, met with one couple that was vehemently opposed to us. They came actually over to the house. They're a husband and wife couple, and after that, they are absolutely for us. I think you've gotten letters from a number of the neighbors as well. She also hosted, with the help of that couple, about 10 other residents on Ormond. And again, I think everyone feels much better of what we're trying to do and preserve that beauty, that natural beauty that exists. In summary, I think we fit perfectly with your sustainable comprehensive master plan as well as your strategic master plan. Whether it's preserving green space, wildlife, multifamily housing, opportunities, education, we fulfill all your city goals as Mary's Mantle. One of the most common things that you've heard both tonight and other nights about this project is, we love this project, just not in my backyard. I think that's something you hear a lot. I'm sure you do at City Council and the Planning Commission. But I would say to that, we are in your backyard. We've been there for 16 years. We are good neighbors. We're good citizens. We love the city of Southfield. And we're happy to do that. And we could have gone other places. And I hope if we get past PG, you'll be happy that we decided to stay in Southfield as well. Lastly, you're going to hear some people complain probably more than they've already had. Again, I would say that this is not an election vote, right? This is up to you. And if we had more people than they did, or they had more people than I did, it's not really an election. It's up to you as city officials to interpret all that evidence and say that for the good of the city of Southfield, we should be here and we should stay here. You know, your motto and charter is basically a city for all and a place for everyone. That's us. Again, we've been here for 16 years. So my ask would be the city council be courageous and approve us to keep Southfield at the forefront of women's rights, minority rights, children's rights, in leading the way from the past to a brighter future for those people. Thank you.
Okay, we will now open up the public hearing for PZR RUDD 26-0001. Please come to the podium, state your name and your address. Breathe.
My name is...
Breathe.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is John Way, 27223 Oxford Drive. I almost don't want to say anything because it's not an election year, so vote however you want to vote. That just shows true colors right there. I'm going to tell you guys, that layout right there, again, let's talk realistically. The taxpayers that pay for everything to function around here, we are getting killed from already. If you guys have been around long enough, you know Proposal A already put us in a deficit to start with. But you got, I'm looking at this, he's gutting that area. He's literally gutting it, and it's not beautiful. If you drive out to Wall Lake and you look at, it used to be shacks out there. You know what they did? They started putting big, beautiful homes up there. $1 million homes, $500,000 homes. And you know what? You build it, they'll come. This is about tax base. This is what Southfield needs. It needs a tax base. We're all for him. It's just not in the right place. Work, do your diligence, do some homework, find a place, you will find it. And just because we threaten to move out of Southfield, just because they leave, that may not be a bad thing. He's been a good neighbor, but that house, it's a house. It's entirely different what he's talking about being a good neighbor for 16 years, what he has over there on Farmbrook. I don't know if any of you have been on Farmbrook, his place. If he was building that next to my house or somewhere, I wouldn't have a problem with it. That's not what he's proposing. Those Cracker Jack houses right there are not what the aesthetics of what you could make that street to be. Build homes that if you took 10 homes, that's $150,000 a year income that's coming in versus the $2,000 or $3,000 that he may generate that he's going to pay for taxes here after he, trust me, after he files for his non-exempt status, which he will, which I don't even have a problem with that. That's a good thing if you can get it. But we need to build something that's going to look beautiful, that's going to stay. We want something in there. Work it out, figure out whatever it is, but you can put homes in there, and that will be beautiful. If you look at, I live on Oxford Drive. I wish you guys could pull up a map of Oxford Drive. It looks similar to this. And that parking lot, and I'm gonna wrap this up, that parking lot, first of all, when it's in the fall, you don't have that foliage. So when it's not there, you're gonna see all of that. And again, that is not, God, I just wish, those look like dentist offices that he's about to build and people are gonna move in. It could be, have the vision. Please, just have the vision to look and see what that place could look like. And if they sit back and they build beautiful homes there, trust me, it will come. You look at Christie's subdivision. You guys have seen the subdivision. Even on Farmbrook, it's big, beautiful homes over there that's on that side.
Thank
so
you, sir.
I'm gonna stop there, but
Thank you, sir.
Please.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Kathy Selly, formerly Kathy Jenkins. I stay at 27248 Oxford Drive. Thank you for letting me approach. I am appalled. He just said that you would have neighbors complaining. We are not complaining. We have a concern. When me and my husband moved out of Detroit, we moved into Southfield for a community, a small community. And what he said, it's a transit house. They're gonna have their babies, stay there, move out, someone else is gonna move in. That's transit. That's not what I built a home on Oxford Drive for. We have a small community. He says he's been there for 16 years in Southfield. I've been there for 20 years, 22 years. Faithfully. So I ask that the city council vote this down. I oppose it. Thank you for letting me speak.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Gloria Boynton. I live at 25530 Inkster Road. I've been in Southfield for about 42 years, and I've been at my present address for 32 years. I bought the home because we wanted a country setting in the city. Also, I want to speak on property value. I've been a realtor for a very long time, and when you show a buyer a home, they're going to ask, well, what's next door? And if they want to be in a quiet environment and have a lovely home, they would not purchase a home. It's going to affect our property value, no matter who took the survey or whatever said. Our property value will be affected by the program. I'm not against unwed mothers. I'm not against the program. It's just too much for the area, and it should be placed somewhere else, I oppose.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Ron Simpson. I live at 27212 Joran. I live across the street from where you're planning on putting this thing. I also own the lot across the street, which abuts to this will be right in the backyard of the lot, my other lot. And now I've had a lot of opportunities to sell that lot, and I chose not to because I like my peace and quiet. I don't want anybody across the street from me. I've invested a lot of money expanding my house, expanding my, I've had a lot of different things on my lot because I said I wanted to live there from now on, for my days out. Now, I also own a lot of other property. I got a much bigger house that I own in West Bloomfield that I have rented out. But I've chosen to stay in Southfield because my kids tell me, Dad, this location, the area, the peace and quiet, stay here. This is where I should stay. So I'm really opposed to, as they said, this is going to be, if you're going to build something back there, build some nice, big, beautiful homes, not what you're talking about here. I know it's going to have an effect on me and my property value because it's, whichever way you go, it's going to have an effect on me because I'm right there. It's, I'm probably closer to it than anybody else, but I'm really opposed to it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comment?
Hi, my name is Lula Savage. I live on Oxford Drive. I just want to make a comment about a couple of things. He said that it was not a medical facility, which I agree it probably isn't a medical facility, but I know they'll probably be doing medical services. So medical services in a residential area, it just doesn't go well. Also, he mentioned there would be caretakers during the daytime or staff during the daytime. But what about at nighttime? He said in the daytime, 5 to 6 staff members, but who's going to be there at night? Caretakers, 2 people, and we have, 14 to 16 homes, and they have kids, so we have caretakers, 2, and then we have the homeless pregnant women, 16, 14, 16, 18 people. Is that caretakers at night is going to take care of that many people? I don't know. Anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ricardo Walker, 25765 Ravine Street. I think we have a bit of a credibility problem here, right? On one hand, he says he wants to be a good neighbor. My grandma told me a long time ago that when someone shows you their true character, believe them. Because then he turned around and said that we should not be listened to, or you guys should essentially disregard our commentary as fellow neighbors of his, and that's his approach, right? So I think in terms of what he's espousing and proposing, I wouldn't trust any of it. I think the other issue we have is one with respect to the rezoning of this area. It's a residential estate area, right? Given that, we bought into this area, we've all invested into this area, I'm raising my children in this area under that auspice, right? You come in and change it, you are affecting future homeowners' perception of what that area represents. There could be a perception that business is being conducted in that area, commercial business is being conducted in that area, and that will affect that would affect the appeal of that area to other prospective homeowners. It is going to have an impact. It doesn't have an impact today because he's not in a rezoned area. He's in a residential setting, in a residential area, so you can't compare the two. They're apples and oranges. So disregard all of that. He's on a mission to move into he's forcing his way into a particular area. It doesn't have to be in that area. Find an area in Southfield, if that's what the desire is, that meets the requirements as is. That doesn't piss off all of his neighbors, right? What kind of neighbor are you going to be when no one wants you there? And you're saying, forget what your opinion is about me anyway. I want to force my way in. I think it's a disingenuous approach, and I don't like it. And no one here. In fact, this is a low-density area, right? This room is pretty full. Most of the residents in that area are probably here. Everybody's saying no. I hope you listen.
Any other comment? Yes, ma'am.
Kimberly Brown, Southfield resident at 27257 Oxford Drive off of Inkster Road. I just wanted to maybe ask a question, how the developer plans, or how the city even plans to address the traffic that would be in that area also. Inkster Road is a 2-lane highway. That proposed location is very close to the intersection of Inkster and 10 Mile, and when it may not be an issue traveling northbound off of Inkster, but traveling southbound on Inkster Road, it only is one way. You know, you can, when you turn left into the property, the traffic could potentially be backed up off of Inkster Road, as we have experienced when there has been construction at times. So I can see that extending, you know, down to the 11 Mile area as well. So I hope that you all consider, you know, the traffic issue. And then just to address, he misstated what I said about being incarcerated. What I was stating there is that the residents are not incarcerated, and they are entitled to, you know, interaction, a place where they can become, you know, immersed in the society. And if they're tucked away there, maybe it's quiet enjoyment for them while they're there. But if we're looking for them to be able to integrate into society again as homeless people with their families, maybe they should be in an area where it supports, you know, social interaction a little bit more as well. So I just wanted to clarify what I stated about the incarceration. I know they aren't going to be incarcerated, but I hope they won't be treated like they are incarcerated. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
My name is John Shelton. I live on 25700 Farmbrook Road. I live there with my wife and 10-month-old baby boy. If security was a concern, I would not hesitate to say something. The current location of Mary's Mantle is not technically in my backyard, they're in my front yard, but I'm directly across the street from them. If traffic was a concern, I would not hesitate to say something. If I thought there was at all a risk, given the current situation, I would not hesitate to say something. Mary's Mantle has been one of the best neighbors that I've ever had on the street. I've volunteered multiple times with the organization. Their staff are professional, they are excellent. There's a lot of them. I know there's a concern of, are there enough people there to really handle the increased capacity of the new location? And I would say, yes, there are. It has been my pleasure to be a neighbor. I am somewhat conflicted because this would mean I'm losing them as a neighbor, and I think they're fantastic, but I recognize that they can serve so many more people at this new location, and so I very much am in favor of it. I think they're a wonderful organization, and I think fear of the unknown is a very real thing, but I would encourage people to engage, to volunteer, to get to know what Mary's Mantle is all about. And I think people will find that it's very different than what they're perceiving right now. So that is my recommendation as having lived with them for 16 years. I was very good friends with the neighbor before, who owned the house before them. So I was sad to see him go, and I shared all the concerns that you've heard today in this room. You know, what's the security going to be like? What's the traffic going to be like? What's the situation going to be like? And I have to say, like, I was very pleasantly surprised at how wonderful an organization this was. So thank you for giving me the time, the opportunity to speak. I could not recommend this more, other than I'm probably be losing a good neighbor. So thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome again, Jim Jenkins. I live at 27367 West 10 Mile, right on the corner of 10 Mile and Inkster. My property is considered residential, and where they exist at right now, I just don't know if they're residential or not, okay? And if they're not, then they're getting ready to move into a residential area, And I'm being challenged because, again, because of what they are and who they are, it's going to affect, I think, the value of property, what I have invested in. And I told you who property that was at one time, okay? And there's a lot of dollars. And if you understand what I do to take care of my place, you would understand that I care about the city of Southfield. I've been in Southfield for 50 years, okay? And I'm trying to do the right thing for our community because you only live once, and while you're here, you need to do the things for not just for yourself, but for your neighbors, okay? Is this going to have a positive impact on our community or not? If we can't, if the answer, if we're puzzled and not saying that we don't, if we don't know, then maybe it's not, okay? Because we don't have an answer for that, okay? And it's going to be a transit housing, like somebody said. It's going to be a transit housing, okay? And a transit housing is not where our community, that's not what our community is, okay? And I have some major people come visit me because they know it's the right community to come to, okay? And I just want to make sure it stays the same place and value that that it can continue to have a place to come to and say, yes, it's the right place to come to. And right now, down the street, if this is being built for me, then I'm not sure if it's going to be the same, okay? And as you see, the neighborhood right now, most people come up here except for one, I don't know, that is opposed to this being built in their community, okay? And I would suggest anybody else that has a house, a residential house, would they want this in their community as well? I don't think they would, okay? So I am opposed to it 100%. And for the right reasons, saying that it's not the place for our community. And I look forward for it being not accepted, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, Lamar Williams, Oxford Drive. Concerning a single home, and I guess if I lived across the street, I would come here to try to get them to move also. But that being said, I've come to 3 meetings, and the home on Kiefer Street, a few good questions asked about the elevation. For those who don't know, elevation is the outside design of the home. And he promised to make some changes. Well, when I look at these elevations, they do not compare to the homes in the area. It looked like a modern day Hotel 8 to me. So many things, but one of the other things is crime. They try to keep the 3-bedroom homes, they're trying to keep the age group 4 and under, but if you had a young lady who made a mistake at 15, who's now 30, she can have a 16-year-old kid. We don't know the...
Excuse me, sir. Can you move your microphone a little bit closer?
We don't know the environment that they are, each individual moving to, coming from. We may, I've been in my area for over 17 years. I leave cars outside my driveway, never woke up to a missing catalytic converter, never woke up to a missing car, never had to call Southfield Police for B&E. All that will change because we don't know who we're going to get in the area from 18 months to 24 months. They can say the youngest will be 4, but they don't know the future, just like neither do us. I had a couple other things, but can't think of it all. I turn my minute over to the person behind.
Thank you. Actually, he just yielded this time. Next person.
My name is William Johnson. I live at 25530 Inkster Road. Right next door to this proposal. I live on the south side of it, okay? I mean, north side. I got 3 acres. I cut my grass, I'm content. I don't worry about nobody, traffic, it's Inkster Road. Every now and then you see a vehicle. But now they're proposing this. Anybody knows, well, at least I do, that you get a bunch of women together, you got problems. Okay? And can they maintain them? No. You got somebody living on a property, 2 persons. You got these women, the kids out there. How are they gonna take care of them? I cut my grass, I'm content. Do I have to walk out there with my gun on my side? Because I don't know who's gonna walk up on me. Right now, I cut my grass, I'm content. I see the deer, I love to see the deer. They come out, they do their thing, they eat their grass, they don't bother nobody. Now they're gonna build this, when the wintertime comes, there's no foliage, I'm looking at this. You know what I mean? I'm looking at this. No trees, no nothing, I'm looking at this. Nighttime, it's dark there. I'm content. I can look outside, I'm happy. They're gonna build this, I look outside, it's gonna be like Detroit. That's gonna mess me up. I don't like it. They can go somewhere else and put it. South has a lot of properties. Like the lady says, 12 Mile and Inkster Road. Prime property. They don't bother nobody, you got no neighbors. But now, I'm a neighbor, I'm right next door to you. You know? I don't like it. I hope you guys say no to this proposal. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is James Jeffrey. I live at 26000 Ravine Street. And I'll paraphrase what I originally going to say because there's been a lot of discussion. But let's see. Basically, there's been talk about tax implications to consider. Nonprofits in Michigan are generally exempt from property taxes, as you know. The current Mary Mantle location at 25675 Farmbrook has paid minimal property taxes in recent years. For example, in 2025, they paid $263. In 2025, or 2024, they paid $256. In 2023, they paid $180.84. Contrast that with the currently undeveloped property, they paid $3,100 in taxes. So you make more tax revenue in leaving it undeveloped property. In development of 14 single-family homes would generate substantially higher and ongoing tax revenue for the city versus this development. The traditional development would also be more consistent with the surrounding neighborhood and likely enhance nearby property values. 14 individual homes can be bought and sold independently, contributing to market activity and incremental increases in taxable value over time. In contrast, this proposal represents a single-use development where the failure of the operating organization could leave the entire property difficult to repurpose or sell, because you'd be stuck with something like the Sarah Fisher area where you'd have to sell it as one giant development. Versus when you have 14 individual homes there, they buy and sell those all the time. Public input at the planning meeting was overwhelmingly opposed. 19 out of 20 speakers specifically spoke against the proposal. These are individuals, or residents and voters of Southfield. I ask you, Mr. Kernan and Mr. Nager, are they residents and voters of the city of Southfield? Finally, I struggle to understand the planning department's position that this development preserves the rural character in the area. He talked about 50 parking spots. I don't know how many homes you live in the street where there's 14 houses, if it was built, that have 50 parking spots and that look like that. In summary, the existing zoning allows for development that is more consistent with the surrounding neighborhood, more beneficial from a tax revenue standpoint, more aligned with the residents' feedback, and less intensive in terms of parking and land use. For these reasons, I ask the council to carefully reconsider any rezoning or variance associated with this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Fred Nager.
Can you bring the mic a little bit closer, please?
Fred Nager, 4855 Tully Road, Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. I'm the current owner of the property, and we've owned it for 64 years, so I just wanted to come here and speak on behalf of Mary's Mantle and us to really what's happening, that this has been going on for, we've owned it for 64 years, and the property's been sitting vacant. Originally it was purchased to put a church there, and at that time there was no water and sewer, so 20 or 30 years elapsed, And then we tried putting some sorts of developments there, housing, whatever, and that never transpired. So Mary's Mantle came along, and are wonderful people, wonderful organization, Christian people, helping children, charity. Who wouldn't want to support it? Actually, when we were doing the purchase agreement, we decided to, you know, give them a donation. So we welcome them. I can't see why anybody would not want them in their community. It's a beautiful organization. Dr. Kernan is actually my urologist. So, I mean, they're just wonderful people. I just hope you can see to pass this through so they can expand their facility and help children and babies. I mean, it should be a no-brainer. This is my
Well,
attorney,
one moment,
actually,
Are you done with your
Salas.
comments, sir?
Would I just say a few
Excuse me,
words?
sir.
You done, Fred? I think he's all set. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name's Aaron Sylvanas. I represent Mr. Nager, the seller of the property. My address is 1764 Strickland, Bloomfield Township. At the outset, I wanted to thank each and every one of you. I know you guys have put a tremendous amount of effort, resources, time into this, and as someone whose father was the mayor of Belleville for 8 years, I know public service is a thankless job, so let me thank you for all you've done in that regard. I just want you guys to focus on the facts here. We know that Mary's Mantle is not an unknown operator. We know that they've operated in this city for 15 years with 0 police incidents. We know, based on the testimony of what their current neighbor said, that they're a good neighbor. They've been a great resident of the community. We also know that they've been sensitive and they've heard the concerns voiced by the residents with respect to keeping the tree lining up, those buffers, and we also know that the city of Southfield has safeguards built in that they're going to follow that deal with things like the site plan and lighting and things of that nature. We also know that the alternative matters. If this is rejected, we can have 14 single-family homes, which could create a tremendous amount of additional heartburn and bring all the fears that some of these people have voiced to life. We talk about the traffic, we talk about the drainage. Those things are much more likely to happen with a 14 single-family development than this. This is not a transient home. It's a structured residential program with rules, no alcohol, no drugs, and no men or boyfriends on the property. The record shows a proven nonprofit, a spotless public safety history, a supportive current neighbor, and a sensitive site plan, and a project that addresses a real community need. And for those reasons, I respectfully request that the council please approve the project. Thank you.
PG, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan, 48037-0155. I've been around this city for a long time, coming to council meetings for a long time, when I was probably the only one in the audience after all the fancy presentations. Now, I've heard this doctor's presentation about Mary's Mantle, and again, people have said they're not against the project. The location is just not the most conducive location. During the times that I've heard this presentation mentioned, I've never heard them talk about the fact that they would be servicing a lot of African American women. So to hear that, I absolutely know who was in their ear and said, maybe you could say this and the presentation would come across better. It's not about the race. It's not about the service that they provide, because people know that services like this are needed. It's just the location. Now, do we want young girls just having babies that are not married, that they can't really afford to take care of these babies? If they are young, we should be pushing for abstinence. Wait until you get married. Wait until you can afford to have a child. And even the older people that are getting married, having children with jobs, with the economy now, they're having a difficult time supporting their children. And the grandparents are having a hard time. And with all these SADs, new millages for school, and the property taxes are going up, 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 as some of the people said here, what are you getting in return? You're getting a tax bill from the people that own property, but you're not getting the taxes from the nonprofit. Now, they don't pay for police and fire, but they'll use it if they need it. They don't pay for city services, but they'll get it if they need it. I spoke to someone at Robinson, and 70 houses at 12 and Inkster. I'm sure they would love to sell you about 10 or 15 of those houses. If you want to invest 10 million, 15 million, buy a couple of those houses and see if those people spending $300,000 and $350,000 would like it. Bloomfield is a great area, a lot of rural area. It would be great to put this project out there. There's no machine that can measure the lumens or the kelvins for the lights. So it's not a whole lot of specificity and accuracy that you can give. Like the project, but just not here.
I haven't tried this voice on the microphone, so bear with me. Gail Mazie, I live on 10 Mile, halfway between Beach and Inkster. I am far enough away not to be directly affected by this, but I was the former president of the association over there. There are 150 homes in the association. I've been there for coming up on 50 years. Now, every single time there's been a proposed development, there's been uproar. People were not happy about Parkview Estates. They were not happy about Lindenwood Lane, which is right across the street from me. So whatever you do is not going to be, real popular. I am concerned about what happens and the success of this if you approve it. Its remoteness is both a positive and a negative. There are no sidewalks anywhere around there. There's no public transportation anywhere around there. The isolation for the people that are going to be in that development is pretty profound. And I also question if they go belly up, what happens to the two large buildings? The other residential buildings are obvious, they could be occupied, but what happens to the two large buildings? So I'm just raising a couple of concerns, and I hope you take that into account in making your decision.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has comment on this item?
I'll be very brief. We all make some bad real estate decisions, including myself. I have a lot that we paid on taxes on for 35 years we can't build on, okay? I sat through 3 presentations from Mary's Mantle, one with the Planning Commission, one in our own residence, and this evening. And I can't find any fault with her vision. The problem is, it just doesn't fit there. It's a commercial activity. And I just wondered, I said, with all the downsizing of church properties, why couldn't they look for some place that maybe could be repurposed into a better facility that may be closer? So I really appreciate your guys' consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jeffrey Savage. I live at 27232 Oxford Drive. My wife spoke a little while ago. I'm totally against this project, totally against it. And there's just one thing that the gentleman said, the nicely dressed gentleman said, that the 70% is going to be African-American. I like to hear some of them African-American people speak on his behalf. I mean, I don't understand, like he's saying, this is such a great project, where are they at? You know, that's my only question. Anyway, again, totally against this for many reasons that I'm not even going to go into. My wife spoke about some of them, and some of my neighbors also spoke about some of those reasons. And I'd just like to hear some other people that look like me speak on his behalf, see what they have to say. Because I haven't seen any. And I only seen one gentleman that was a neighbor that came up and said, well, there's no problems. Where the other neighbors at? I don't see them. So, but I do see a lot of people here that look like me and that don't look like me that are against this. And I just hope we take that all into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Is your mic on, sir?
Green is on. Speak to the mic.
It's on.
Greg Keeler, Southfield resident. One thing I can say for sure, that I don't have any representation up there at all. You are all general. It would be nice if there was some representation from this community. Hopefully they won't have to go through the experience I had before Ms. Bland got here, that there was 26 years, nobody would look into the problems I had in my community. I still live without a sewer line. Why am I living like a third world nation? This community is coming up here and they're complaining about what will come to their community, what will happen to their community. And
Mr. Keeler.
You should listen to
this specific item, sir. Speak to this specific item.
No, I was getting to that.
Okay, but no, speak to this specific item, please.
Say that again?
Speak to the item that we're presented, not this. Yeah. This has nothing to do with the sewers.
No. I was going to the fact that we were promised something, we didn't get it.
That's not
They
true.
are going to be promised something.
It's not true.
Will they get it? No, will they get it? In the representation up there for the community, that is talking about this specific item, correct?
No. We're speaking on a specific item in a public hearing, and you're giving your opinion about other topics.
No, I'm giving.
Sir, we're not going to go back and forth.
Okay.
Thank you. Are you going to finish on this topic?
Yes.
Thank you.
I will say no to this because of the community has voiced its opinion for what they wanted there in their community, for what it will do to their community as far as their property value and everything else. This has, in mine, is only just to show a study fact of this has happened to be the same, and I don't want to see the same thing happen to them that has happened to me. I want my neighbors to be comfortable where they live at and not be feeling that they have to move out of their area or anything else. And I know living on 1 acre or larger, the enjoyment, just the peacefulness of it all, of living there. So I hope you listen to them, but more than likely we'll end up with another 5-2 vote for it. Thank you.
Any other comment on this item? Hearing none, the public hearing for this item is now closed. If the petitioner can please come back to the podium. You're going to have an opportunity now, sir, to address the comments that were lifted during public hearing.
Great, thank you very much. So a few things. One is, every time I've spoken either before City Council or Planning Commission, I've actually laid out all the demographics of where the women come from, what the breakdown of African American to Latino, et cetera. That's been at everyone. I just want to get that clear. With regards to the question of people on the property, there is always a 24/7 house mother in the maternity house. That is our current standard operating procedure. It will be the same in the new maternal house. The biggest difference is we have a married couple that will occupy one of the townhouses that will also be there 24/7 to provide support to the women. I think a couple things were also addressed. Traffic. We've talked to Terry and Thomas about that. Terry's commented repeatedly that single-family homes generate significantly more traffic than multifamily homes, so I don't think that's a significant issue. Again, we talked to a lot of the people at the community. If you'd gone to the Planning Commission meeting that was open to the public, there was probably 10 or 12 more people in that who stood up against us. They conveniently are not here tonight. They are basically now for us. I think they were worried about coming. Some of those people wrote letters to the city council. And to the other gentleman's question about our moms, a lot of our moms don't necessarily want to come up and stand in front of an open forum like this and talk about their tragedies and how well they've done. But I would encourage anyone to come visit us at Mary's Mantle. You can see all the women and all the babies. We have records of all of them, amazing photographs, where they are, what they've done. But I just don't know that that's appropriate for a public forum. And then lastly, I think with regards to the tax structure, look, we're a charity. I'm not going to be embarrassed about it. The city of Southfield has a lot of other charities. I'm not sure what they feel about all those charities. Maybe they feel the charities should pay as well. I believe maybe the first time I presented at the city council, I'm not sure if it was City Clerk Grossbard or Zorn who said something about taxes that we could pay, you know, as a one-time, as we built, et cetera. We're happy to do that. We want to be good neighbors. So again, whatever that status has to be, we're happy to do that. Thank you.
Council President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Petitioner, you may want to stay at the podium. There may be questions council may be posing towards you. Yes. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, actually, I don't have any questions for you. I have just comments. I must honestly say that I personally am disappointed at some of the things that I've heard, actually on both sides. I'll start with the resident sides, just maybe the last two gentlemen or last. First of all, there's no need to offend people. When you talk about a group of women, to say that to a woman majority council, good thing we don't hold comments like that and we do what is right. Especially when you're talking about, where's the respect for women? You know, we bring you into this world. You're here because of us. So it's unfortunate. And I say that because you have a right to say what you want, but that's what's wrong with society today, the world. Just be kind. There's no need. Get your point across without offending people. And then to say that there'll be criminals coming here, that was inappropriate because you lose the message. But then I'm going to go on the petitioner side. I agree with, I believe the resident was Ms. Brown. She wasn't saying that those women are incarcerated people, whatever. She meant isolation. Let's stick to the facts, everyone. Again, there's no need to offend people. That resident, that's not what she meant. And so I'm concerned with that. I'm also concerned, I think you made a statement about it being an election. Out of all the people that have come before us and has disrespected this council, this group has not. I must say, they have not. I've never heard that. They never once said, and I'm not going to vote for you. Because we hear that threat all the time, but I've never heard it from this group. So I just want us to, you know, and no one is against this organization's mission or vision. We would have to be horrible human beings if we're not against that. That is not the issue. I told you when I first heard your program, I loved your program. And that still doesn't change. But the issue is here. We do have to listen to our residents. We cannot just say, people who come with us with a plan and say, this is where I want it, that has to be correct. Now, I did go out at the invite of the Varders, I think it is, and I think he's still here. And I didn't call you because I wanted to view it myself, to go and see. And so I do have concern with the water buildup. And I would like to see that a lot of this is fixed within our city before we add to it. Now, I want to say we're not against, or I'm going to say me, I'm sorry, not against your project because we approved not too long ago Andy's Place. Now, what's different was the location. And it simply was in an area that was not developed yet. And you don't know about it, but I'm just saying if anybody knows, you know, what we've done before. But I did read your letters of support and all that. A lot of it was from past residents, people who work there. I noticed one that was from the Beechwoods community who had said, oh, I like this project. But then I remember when we wanted to put a kid's splash pad in their area, they didn't want it. And so what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But that didn't miss me to say that. But I don't have an issue with your program, your organization. But I must admit now, after going by there and seeing that, I don't like the location of it. And I don't like the fact that there are some things that come to us for planning that they don't like and we like, and the reverse. But I must say that I have to take into account everything that I hear. And I'm not afraid of being elected or reelected because I have a job, okay? I do this because I like to serve. So if I'm not put up here again upon reelection, I can live with it. That'll be the loss to the residents of the city. I'll just say that. But I think that we have to do what is right before we set a precedent. I have to say that, Ms. Pamela Gerald, I agree with you. I agree with you on past locations. I have my notes here that I wrote that a lot of you stated what I said. We don't have a problem with the vision or the mission. And it's not about, you know, again, I go back to if people will come before us and just stick to the facts. There was no need to mention race or any of that because, again, I care about people doing well in life. I don't care about your color and certainly mothers because I was a single parent. And so, but I don't care about their colors or anything of that. I just want everybody to do well. So I just ask, and I hope people who are listening, stick to the facts when you come before this podium and don't try to offend us or anybody else, please. I just ask that.
If I could respond, again, I just was laying out the...
And it was both sides. That's why I mentioned it. And Mr. Keeler, you and I, we've talked, we've communicated, and I was disappointed in your comment to say, and the vote to be this way or that, because you don't know. We all have not talked about this, not one of us. We are all thinking on our own, and whatever may come, will come. But as of today, I can't support it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Could I comment on the isolation as well? Again, I think we know that a lot of these moms, once they have their baby, go back to some place that is more isolated and live alone. And that's why, again, going back to that community setting like Alcoholics Anonymous does for transition living is so critical to these women. So again, I think that's a key piece. And again, if we look at the demographics of the approved site plan for the 14 houses, we're saving the land, we're saving the water, we're doing all those things better than the alternative site plan of building 14 houses.
Mr. Mayor.
I have two questions first. At the last go-around with the discussion on this proposal, was the parking, originally was 72 parking spaces, which I objected to?
It was actually over 80.
I'm sorry?
It was over 80, actually, on the last version.
And what is it now?
53.
I'm sorry?
53.
53, okay. Again, I went out to Ormond. I see the water issue, and I was there before in between rainstorms, so there was nothing sitting at the moment. But the other thing I didn't hear addressed, what about visitors of the women that are living there? Relatives, boyfriends, what's the policy on that?
That's a great question. So again, if there is a boyfriend or father involved, all of that is done off-site. So they are not allowed on the premises.
So no one can stay
Correct.
Overnight, like?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, and that's been our policy from day one.
All right. And is there a curfew?
Yes, 9 PM during the week and 10 PM on weekends.
All right.
And that goes for everybody, so nobody stays overnight.
All right. So I think that's important information for everyone to hear. So prior to Mary Mantle coming before us, the city council approved a number of other projects, but I first want to mention that we have over 70 group homes in this city that we have no control over. Michigan Department of Human Services, licenses, group homes, we find out about them after the fact. Over 70. A number of them are run by nonprofits. The city has over 200 nonprofits, including church properties. And prior to Mary's Mantle coming before us, we approved the Veterans Village down the street. That's going to be off the tax roll. We have supported the mission of the new foster care. That's going to be coming back before City Council. We are currently supporting the construction of John Grace Arms apartments, subsidized senior apartments for seniors, low-income seniors. We have approved the Wellspring apartments for recovery, people in recovery. I just don't know how much more this council can allow, because we're all paying the taxes here. Those of us that have been here a long time, 58 years, I don't pay what people that have come after me pay following Proposal A. Some of us enjoy a cap. But you heard me at the beginning of this meeting about a proposed tax increase, and yet I want to see new single-family housing built here. I want young people to move into existing housing. And what I see on this property, I just don't think it's the highest and best use. And when I look at, and I've been on all these streets. I've been on Oxford. I've been on Jorland. I have been on Ormond. And I've been all over the ravines. And across the way in Farmington Hills, what I see on this property for the highest and best use is $500,000 homes. And what, I'm sorry, I don't want to sound elitist, but with the cost of construction today, a $500,000 price tag on a house is not unrealistic. Our Southfield nonprofit built 2 fill-in homes, and they were about $440,000, and they're family homes. So I don't have a vote in this matter, but I'm sorry. I agree with your mission. I think I had a sister who had a child out of wedlock. The guy, when he found out she's pregnant, he went. He disappeared. And she ended up in an unwed mother's home. And it helped her. So, you know, I get what you're doing. I have no problem with it. I just don't think that this is the highest and best use for this acreage. And I don't also, I think that there is a point where this council can't keep approving nonprofits when the rest of us are footing the bill for ever increasing costs of city services. So
I guess I would
I'm
respond.
sorry to tell you that. but-
Sure, I guess I would respond a couple ways. Number one, if the issue is all about the water and land use and the deer and all that stuff, no matter what you build there, that's going to go away. If the issue is about taxes, and again, you want to come up with something, if that's the only thing standing between us and you to make this go through, we'll figure out a way to go through that. I mean, we have a large donor base. I'm happy to do that. I understand your position. We understand nothing's for free. But at some point, someone's got to be able to say, I'm going to put a stake in the ground and do the right thing. So if it means us having to say that and pay for it from a tax standpoint, fine. But this is the right thing to do. And again, we've looked at 2 to 3 other properties in Southfield, and they've told us no. We've looked at a lot of different places. People keep telling us no. So, and again, it's all these various things. It ultimately breaks down to, it's not in my backyard. The deer, the water, the this, the that. The city planners have looked at it all and said, it's not going to make it's not going to make your property values go down. There's going to be no water issues. There's going to be no traffic issues. There's going to be no wildlife issues. So all those things you've heard, your own city planners have vetted. Again, if it comes down to taxes, we're happy to pay. Whatever that is, you let us know, we'll pay. But if that's the only thing standing between us and this, and helping women and helping people today, I'm in.
Councilman Brightwell?
Tom, last weekend, I brought up the issue about property values, and you mentioned something that the assessor had addressed that. So can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, the city assessor did an analysis. There's like basically, as I understand it, I'm not an expert in assessing, so I'm going to try to summarize the technical explanation he gave in his memo. There's 3 types of like effects on a property that can lower its value. There's actual functional obsolescence where a building can no longer be used for what it was designed for, which is not the case here because there isn't a building there. There can be a direct effect like environmental contamination can make a property less valuable. This one is actually, it's an external obsolescence, which means there's an effect from something nearby that's lowering the utility or perceived utility of the property. And that would be the 3rd type of potential effect here, but when he analyzed this, he found that that would not be likely the case. Like I said, I'm just summarizing. I'm not an assessor. I am not trained in assessment. I have to take the city assessor as the technical expert there, but he did not expect that the existence of this facility would lower property values in the area, that there would be, I think in his terms, there would not be successful appeals to lower people's property taxes as a basis of this being here. So, but that's how assessors think. They think about whether or not would you be successful appealing your taxes on the basis of this existing. Like I said, I am not an expert in that. If you want more detail on it, you'd have to talk to the city assessor. That's about the level of my understanding of it.
Okay, the other question I want to deal with, and I brought up the fact that...
Councilman, speaking to the microphone.
Mr. President, if I may, I know Councilman Brightwell has been a champion on pilots, payment in lieu of taxes, and has done a tremendous amount of research. I just want to caution council regarding what could be seen as a quid pro conversation. We're supposed to only be considering the planning item in front of us. The other item is there's some RUPA concerns that I think we need to be very, very careful. I mean, we should just be considering the site plan and the request for the rezoning.
Thank you, Mr. Administrator.
And you've done some great work, but I just don't think this is the
with all
right time.
due respect,
Yes,
then
sir.
that kind of negates the worry about taxes.
So, you good, sir?
Well, given that, I suspend my questions. Go ahead, I'm set.
Councilman Mandelbaum.
Yes, thank you. I think you've heard, your mission, everyone applauds you for your mission. But there's obviously some concerns from the residents here. And, my colleague said it best when, usually when residents are against a proposal that affects them, whether it's in their backyard, whether it's citywide, they sit here and make all types of threats towards us, and we did not hear that tonight. So I do want to applaud the residents for essentially not threatening us with, we're not going to vote for you and everything else, because that's admirable that you came with facts, you came with your opinions. I did receive, just like my colleagues, I think we all received an email from the Vaders. And I did go out this weekend and look at the water issue and the property and just the general landscaping. But, when I was out there, I did drive down some of the other streets. I drove down Ormond. I drove down Oxford. I drove down Joran. So I did drive down other streets to look at those houses. I even went through the condominiums that are just on the other side just to see what's going on. And I'm not really sure that this location really fits in with the character. And I'm not one to just go along with what the residents said. A couple weeks ago, we had the Northland Dome project, and there were a lot of residents, even some of my colleagues, that didn't care for it, but I was a supporter because I believed in it. I thought the location was perfect for that project. So I have no problem speaking out and voicing my opinion when I feel that the project is a good project and the location is a good location, and everything fits in with what we want Southfield to be. So again, I applaud you for the work you're doing, for helping these mothers. That's the greatest gift that anyone can have. I'm just not convinced that this location is going to be a good service for the rest of the area for the residents of Southfield. Thank you.
Does that serve them better behind you, the parallel plan? Because you could build that, and all of their concerns about water and trees and forest and all that are worse.
So I will tell you, potentially that could be, because you'll have houses that are consistent with the other areas, with what's next door. You'll have that, as the mayor mentioned, the $500,000 homes. This is a large area. You could have big lots, big houses. I would have concerns with any development regarding drainage and trees and forestry. But something like that as a concept, I do believe would be a better fit for this location. You mentioned, I think the current owner of the property mentioned they were thinking of putting a church there 30 years ago. But yes, that's also tax-free, and there was no sewer. Here, the same thing. You have a sewer line down Inkster, but the entire property still has to be developed. Not much has really changed from 30 years ago. Why that project, didn't go through, that's much before my time. But something that's being shown on the screen now is something that potentially fits in better with this location.
So we could move 14 women into those 14 houses.
So, I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm done.
So, Councilwoman Hayes, you want me to go first? You want me to go? So, sir, one thing that sometimes I'm a broken record when petitioners come before and there's opposition from community. I'd rather have you all kind of talking the line before bringing it to us. If this is something that you think that could work better, I'd rather you have a town hall or an open house with many of the folks here to kind of talk through it. Because we've had several petitioners who've come through, and people were adamantly against what they were trying to do. They then sat down, better understood each other, and then they presented something that would be cohesive to both parties. What I don't want to have happen is, we proceed on with a vote, which could be favorable or not favorable, and then that limits your next steps. I'd rather have some consideration for you to kind of go back and rethink the things that you've heard thus far, and let's have another talk. Because I haven't heard anyone who came to the podium who's against your mission. I think everyone on this dais is supportive of the mission. I don't want to proceed down a road where it's going to be challenging for you all to live together cohesively, right? So I just would give it just my 2 cents. I'm just one vote. But I would rather you all have some communication, huddle up, come back with another play versus try to keep running this play and it fails before it's really executed. Okay. Councilwoman Haynes.
Yes. First of all, I'd like to thank my colleague, Coretta Hogue, for saying what she did. It's so important that we are mindful of what we say when we respect to talking about gender and race, and that has become an issue sometimes here in our city where it needs not to be. This city is 65% African American, but there are other races that live here just as well. Nationwide, 70% of the unwed mothers are also African American. Those are facts. Single mothers. I was one. And when you don't have any help and you don't know where to go, you need somewhere to go. You all need to understand what compassion is. Maybe it's not in your backyard, but to come and make these statements about women bring mess, do I need to bring my guns? I don't know which man said that, but let me tell you, buddy, you wouldn't be here without a woman. And if she got into the mess with a man and left, the man left, and she was in a mess because of the man. So be careful what you say. Be very careful what you say. And we need to be careful how we treat each other when we're talking about issues like this. This is a very delicate situation. We're talking about a place where we're trying to help unwed mothers. And like I said, maybe that's not the place, but also roll up your sleeves sometimes and think about helping to see where we can do it. Because you know what? Everybody's going to say it's not in my backyard. Everything is never in their backyard. Never in my backyard. About so many projects that we've had, kids, it's like everybody's a throwaway. You know, and the thing about, if I can mistake, I'm not a real estate, I'm not an assessor. I thought you evaluate property by the houses that compare to the houses. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying anything beyond that. I thought you compare houses to the houses. You know, we have to be very delicate when we come here with these issues like this. And I'm going to tell you, you can get the bigger houses that were moved there, but guess what? You never know if they're going to even be group homes. Trust me. I'm telling you, because that's what's coming. So they could be just as many of 2,000, 3,000 square feet with group homes. People will do that, and they'll build and tell you nothing. And I also thought that you said you would be putting in sidewalks. I thought you said
Yes.
that. I did hear you say that you would be willing to pay taxes, you know. All of these things to improve on what you're doing. And I support what you're doing, and I thought in my own mind this was a right place too. I'm listening to the residents, I'm respecting them in that behalf, but I do think we need to revisit and look at this. I worked in a place like this, and in the seclusion, you're talking about babies. Babies don't crawl in the 50 feet of woodland in the area. You know, they don't just leave the premises. Let's talk about the realistic things about this to make this happen. You know, it's some things we just kind of jumbling all together to say, oh, you know, they're going to have the boyfriends here. You get that in your neighborhoods too. You don't know who you're going to get for neighbors sometimes, seriously. And I've seen that as well. But I agree with Council President. Maybe we need to revisit and look at some things. And when you do have these conversations, seriously, please think of respect. Because some of this horribleness of what's being said, it's like kids are throwaway, mothers are throwaways, you know. And I can tell you, if I didn't have some help from people, it would have been a whole different thing for me. And I worked with the Associated Catholic Charities when I was younger too, and saw what they did for young people and try to help young girls, you know. And it was a very difficult place to be in. And like I said, there's never going to be a right place for anybody if it's in somebody. If somebody's going to always have a backyard to say no. So, I mean, I support 100% what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I think it's a good cause.
Councilwoman Bland.
So I said it before, I think that the venture is a great one. But you know, I looked up a couple of different properties that have 4 acres in Farmington Hills, and they described it as surrounded by luxury homes, an ideal setting for private custom estates or strategic investment. Bloomfield Hills had 3 acres for sale, and they said, a rare opportunity to build your dream home in a prestigious neighborhood. That's all these people are saying, because the ravines and that area in Inkster is absolutely beautiful. And it's secluded. And I think many people moved here for that opportunity to have acreage and be accessible to the city. So if Farmington and Bloomfield sell their acreage and market it that way, I think that's what you're hearing from these residents. I also like to echo what Pro Tem said. I received your comments with a great deal of hubris in it. And what you said, not just how you said it about it's not an election year.
If I could clarify that, my only comment was that...
If I could finish my statement.
Sure.
It's intent versus impact.
No.
The impact was we received it as you said it. And perhaps you didn't intend to offend, but you did.
No, what I really meant was...
And so, as I finish my statement, and so I would just caution you, when you go to find the place that Mary's Mantle will, subsequently be housed at, that you don't approach that group of people with the same type of language. It won't be received well.
My point, if I can clarify, was just from an election standpoint, from a ballot standpoint, it's not whether they have 12 people and we have 10 people saying yes or no. My point was, if it was really just an election, this would be on the ballot. It just didn't, if they have 15 people supporting, we have 20 people supporting, doesn't mean we're right and they're wrong. That was my intent.
As I said, intent versus impact, right? And you left us with the impact. I think we should just leave it there.
Sure. Okay.
Right?
Okay, I apologize.
Thank you.
Any other comments, council? Mr. Mayor? Okay. So, council, remember my comments, but if it so moves anyone to proceed, is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I ask that we proceed with voting. I'll give a motion. Did I say that?
You said me.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Okay.
I'm going to set a motion so that we can just get to the voting. And then I'll ask for a roll call vote as well. I move to approve PZRUDD 260001.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue, supported by Councilwoman Haynes. Any further discussion or question? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, if you can do a roll call.
All right, for the record, Councilwoman Banks is absent with notice, so she won't be voting tonight. Councilwoman Bland.
No.
Councilman Brightwell.
No.
Councilwoman Haynes.
No.
Councilwoman Hogue.
No.
Councilman Mandelbaum.
No.
Councilman Hicks.
No. Motion failed.
All right.
No. Let's keep it civil. I do hope that the petitioner works with the planners to find a location that makes more sense. We don't want to exclude opportunities for people in Southfield. So, anything else on this item?
Nothing, Mr. President.
All right, hearing none, item F, zoning text amendment for PTZA 26-0002, unintended collection bans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of this ordinance is actually,
please quiet while we continue the meeting. Thank you.
is basically repealing the zoning regulations related to unattended collection bins. If you recall, this body adopted a new general code ordinance, making it a annual permitting issue already. So we have the old provision and the new provision. The old provision's got to go, so it doesn't contradict the new provision. We left the old provision on the books until the new provision became effective to avoid a gap of coverage. It is standard practice, so just noting, you know, we were regulating these through administrative or site plan review. There was some indication that that might be considered onerous on the free speech of nonprofits that were using these, and that the annual permit was a simpler, cheaper effect that would still give us adequate monitoring and control over them. So I know that City Attorney King worked with our building official, Mr. Woodward, and code enforcement, Tyrese Beeks, to come up with that permitting ordinance. So really all we're doing today is repealing the zoning provision and making it a reserved section for future usage to remove the older contradictory provisions. So really just wrapping it up. We do have to hold a public hearing because it is a zoning text amendment.
Okay.
The Planning Commission did recommend adoption on this.
Council, any questions on this item?
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't we need a public hearing?
Yes, we do. We do have to open a public hearing on this.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
No, well, yeah. We will now open the public hearing for zoning text amendment PTZA 26-0002. If there's anyone that wants to speak on behalf of this item, please come to the podium at this time. Hearing none, public hearing is now closed. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we approve zoning text amendment PTZA 26-0002 unattended collection bin.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue, supported by Councilwoman Bland. Any further discussion or question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. President?
Ma'am?
I move that we introduce ordinance number 1842.
Support.
We would have to change that number.
Oh, that's right, sorry. 1841.
It would actually be 1840, I think, because 1841 didn't pass, and 1840, which is the ODD, got put off.
Got
So
it.
we didn't act on that one, and then the RUDD didn't pass, so I think
Thank
we'd
you,
be
Mr.
using the
Deputy.
ODD ordinance number, 1840. Is that
I'm
correct, Mr.
gonna-
Clerk?
Restate my motion,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Please, Mr. President, I
Ma'am.
move that we introduce ordinance number 1840.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue and supported by Councilwoman Bland. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I move
Mr.
that-
President, please let
They did it
the
while you were out
record
there.
note that Councilwoman Haynes was not in there.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, for the minutes.
Mr. Clerk,
For-
for the minutes.
Just count these 5 for this motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Mr.
Councilwoman
President,
Haynes stepped out.
Thank you. Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
are we ready?
Yes, ma'am.
I move, please, if
Yeah,
we
you said
can
use the
enact
numbers for
ordinance number 1837, proposed ordinance amendment, smoking lounges, section 7.715.
Support?
It's been properly moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue, supported by Councilman Mandelbaum. Any question or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm asking if we can move up and approve the travel expense report for Mayor Siver to the Michigan Historic Preservation Network, May 7th through 9th.
Support?
It's been moved by Council President Pro Tem Hogue, supported by Councilman Mandelbaum. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Council, Councilman Mandelbaum.
I know in the beginning of our meeting, we had a moment of silence for former Councilman Myron Frazier. I just wanted to, again, I was shocked when I heard the news yesterday. I had a chance, I've to know Myron for almost 20 years. He appointed me to the Total Living Commission when I first applied. Then I got to sit with him as a colleague on the council. And even once he retired from the council, he would call me after council meetings, whether it was right after when I'm still packing up my stuff, or even just the next day, telling me, especially when I was president, what I did right, what I did wrong, and just giving me that feedback. And he had a lot of insight, a lot of knowledge. He really dedicated many years to Southfield. I would even call him sometimes before controversial votes, giving him the pros and cons, talk it out with him, and ask for his counsel sometimes, just because he had that, he had that personality, he had that fatherly advice for anyone who asked, whether or even if you didn't ask. But he definitely helped bring me up when I first got on council, and showed me the ropes, if you will. And he will definitely be missed, and my condolences to his family and to to the entire Southfield family. I'll just leave you with this quick funny story. When one time he and I were both up for re-election, and he has a son, Michael, and all my literature says, Michael Mandelbaum. And at the poll, somebody kept saying, vote Michael, and then he started saying, vote Michael, just because it was his name. And then someone said, wait, aren't you saying vote Myron? And it was, but he said, yeah, my dad said you could vote for Michael too, so it was okay. But, he was always, Myron will definitely be missed. Thank you.
Councilwoman Haynes.
Yes, when we got the news about former Councilman Frazier, I thought about the times when we had good conversation. Not very many conversations, but he was very supportive of me when I first ran. He asked me quite a few questions. We didn't agree on everything, but we found the common ground of agreement, and I was very happy to have had his endorsement. And I did talk to him several times afterwards about issues and what he thought, just like Ari said, what would be best to do. So I think it's important that a person like that has touched the city of Southfield and touched people, and that's his legacy. He was also funny, and he had little quirks and things that he said that were really nice. And I know he loved his wife too, and I remember that part, and I respect that, and I thought that was such a great thing. And the city of Southfield is better for having a council person, a gentleman, as Mr. Myron Frazier. And I'll leave my comments at that. Thank you.
Council President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree with what my colleagues have said about Councilman Frazier, so I won't repeat that. He was a gentleman, and he can surely make the meetings interesting. He did have a wealth of knowledge. But what I want to really say regarding Councilman Frazier is I'd like to give thanks to two people that I know of, Mr. John McRena and our city administrator, Mr. Zorn, who actually went and picked him up and would bring him to the meetings or bring him to whatever needed to be done into the city, because Mr. Frazier's children didn't live in Michigan. So I thank you for caring enough, and the same to Deputy Administrator, because I stated earlier, people just don't care these days. And I know the mayor has gone and picked him up for things and brought him here. It just shows the good in you. So I thank you, Mr. Administrator, for being there and stepping in. I know a couple of times I volunteered to go and pick him up, but you or John would beat me to it. And so it just speaks good of us as people that we don't always agree, but we care for each other, and that's what I think is important. So thank you to the administrator, deputy administrator, and again, condolences to the Frazier family, and we thank you for allowing us to share him. He loved what he did, and so it's a blessing. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. He lifted us.
Councilwoman Bland. Councilman Brightwell.
Well, I guess I will mention something about Myron. Myron worked at the AT&T. He and I worked there also. I worked in a different division, and I got to know Myron here at the city of Southfield as on council. And when naturally Myron was very supportive when I got on council, and Myron pretty much knew my background when I was with AT&T, and for that reason, I think he appointed me my first year to run the finance committee, and that was a stroke of just being a good manager. And I do know that here within the city of Southfield, several individuals have sought his counsel and sought his advice based on the circumstances that they were facing. And I guess I'm fortunate for Myron to have his wisdom, because we changed the finance committee to replicate what goes on in corporate America. And that finance committee now is best practice of all our peers here locally. And Myron had a sense of humor that was developed. It was a developed sense of humor which was sophisticated, and you had to think when he was telling a joke. But I have a couple of friends that worked for Myron at AT&T, and I happened to reach out to them, and so they wanted to make sure I filled them in on whatever is being, how he's being recognized and his services. So I'll do that, and so those are just comments that friendly comments that indicated how I got to know Myron here at working at on the city council, and also, quite frankly, after every council meeting, several of us would get together at McVee's to recap the happenings at the city council.
Don't say that.
And we didn't break the Open Meeting Act.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I must have said too much.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you, Myron, and rest in peace, sir.
So my comments are related to thank you. Number one, I want to say thank you, ladies, for my pen. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your passion in doing what you do for community. I want to thank Myron as well. You can't be what you can't see. And so growing up here, I've got to watch his leadership, his commitment. This job is not easy. You know, we have to serve everyone and listen to everyone. But I think the reward for that, it's fulfilling when we see our community for the better. I'm learning continuously every day, you know, listening to my colleagues. We may not always agree on everything, but they lift things that give me different perspectives of things I may not have considered. And so us being civil and listening, I think we all hopefully are learning from each other, because I know I've learned from all that are here. Myron's leadership, there's many things that I try to echo in the way he did things. Is very much fact-based and data-based, and with a lot of logic. You know, I try not to be emotional with my decisions. It's based on a variety of factors. And for him, I say thank you for his leadership. Mr. Mayor, and he will be missed. Mr. Mayor.
I also, when I got the call from his daughter-in-law, I had a feeling of dread because she called me early yesterday morning. You know, when I had a conversation with Myron last week, I called him, and you know, you just never know if this is going to be the last time you speak with somebody. And we talked for a good half hour or more, and he sounded great. It was his body that gave out on him. His mind was as sharp as ever. Besides the things that all of you have shared, his wit was incredible. And then those little homilies he'd tell us, kind of folksy stories of growing up outside of Kalamazoo and so on. I will miss Myron. I met him before I was a councilman, through the Democratic Club, probably close to 50 years ago, 40-some years ago. And we've been good friends ever since, and he supported me all the time. And as was said, great for advice or a sounding board. And matter of fact, that was one of the reasons I called him a week ago, just to run something by him once again. So, yeah, it's very, very sad for all of us and I think, for the city. We've lost a giant. And I'm wondering if maybe there's something we could do as a memorial for Myron, even if it's something as simple as planting a tree. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mr. Administrator.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do need to remind everybody, we have a Memorial Day event at 9 a.m. this Friday morning. Thank you. It's here in council chambers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I want to just echo the remarks about Myron. You know, we were regulars at the Coney Island on Telegraph, and those are very special memories. His life is a role model to all of us, and he should be celebrated. And I thank his family for sharing him with us. That's all I have this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Madam Attorney.
Good evening, Council. I really don't have anything too much more to say, but then at the same time, I have to say that Mr. Frazier was a role model for me also. I remember the first time I had to go in front of council to present an ordinance, and he just encouraged me. So, yes, lots of wit, and he'll be greatly missed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Clerk.
So I do have an item on the agenda. Is there a representative here from TGI Fridays? You are. Come on up. While you're coming up, I do want to add, I knew Mr. Frazier. I've had some dealings with him. Councilman Frazier was a gentleman. He was wise, and he was always kind to me. He will be missed.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the item is on the agenda. because TGI Friday is in the same location, it's the same business, but the business had sold and it's under a new ownership. So the liquor license is looking to be transferred from one owner to a different owner in the same location under the same business restaurant franchise name, and that's why it comes for council to ask your questions and they seek your approval.
So just to verify, so typically when an application, whether it be for transfer or for new, we do a check on having all the departments verify that they've met all the guidelines and criteria, that all taxes have been paid, any other outstanding items owed to the city are paid, have all of those things been satisfied?
Sir, so the application for the transfer has been filed slightly over a year ago. All the departments have since recently given a green light. There were some bumps, but they were straightened out. We did get green lights from everyone. Currently, as of today, the water bill is up to date, the taxes are up to date, and there's no outstanding issues.
Council, do you have any questions? Yes, Pro Tem.
Hello. Did you want to give your name first before?
I'm Carlene Hines.
Okay.
And your
I'm the
relation?
general manager at Fridays.
Thank you, ma'am.
She's general manager. Thank you so much for coming before us. I just wanted to give some comments about complaints that I've heard regarding Fridays, TGI Fridays, the location. And some of those complaints is that the business is operating like a club, if you will. That there's loud music all the time, there's dancing, there's bottle service, if you will. And I know I haven't been there in years, but I did used to frequent it a lot. But I must admit, the last time that I was there, I won't say that I saw, is that the correct wording, bar service or? Bottle service. Bottle service.
We
I'm
don't
not
do
saying I've
bottle
seen
service.
that. But I will say, it did sort of give me the environment of a nightclub because it was very loud, there was dancing. Now, this was many years ago. And so I just wanted to make sure before we even entertain this transfer of liquor license that we at least bring, or I bring these complaints to you, not necessarily, I mean, surely you can comment, but just to make you aware of it. Because as you may know, we have been unfortunately dealing with a lot of domestic violence in some of our business locations, specifically clubs and things of that such. And so we want to make sure that a family restaurant like TGI Fridays is just that, but not something else, another type of business. So I'm not sure how often you're there, if this happens when you're not there, but I can only tell you when I was there, it did give me that impression. But I didn't see bottle service, but it was a lot of loud music, and it was sort of even some DJing, if you will. And that's not what I'm used to from Fridays, so.
Yes, ma'am. I worked there before, back in 2014, and it absolutely.
Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you pull your microphone just a little bit closer? Yeah, there you go. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, that makes me nervous. Okay, back in 2014, it was like a club. Its nickname was Club Fridays. They had T-shirts printed back in the day. We no longer want to be known as Club Fridays. That's been a long time ago. We don't do bar service. Rarely do people dance. The atmosphere has changed because the age of those people that was doing that then, they've gotten old. So it doesn't.
Well, let me say this, and I'll close. It wasn't that long ago, to be honest. It was within, yeah.
And I'm sure some things are different when I'm not there.
Okay.
For kids to play with mom's away, but that's not the intent.
Okay. That's why I
all.
said, I know you can't be there during every hour, but this was like within the last year, and I think my colleague is stating even this year. But
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that, that's all.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Haynes?
Yes, the date was January 6th. I have the paper here that says booths up to $200 at TGI Fridays in Southfield?
That was a promoter, so to speak, that we were trying to work with to build the sales on a certain day, on a Wednesday night.
So you sell booths?
I'm sorry?
You sell the booths to build
No.
sales? Well, that's what it says, booths up to 200.
We didn't post that.
But it has your store name on it.
It has my name on it. I didn't even know he did it until after he did it.
Okay.
And I had involved, my boss was involved with it, and we, what you call it, kept him away. We wiped our hands of him because that wasn't what we were designed to do. We don't do booth rentals, we don't do bottle service, and he was promoting us as like we really did that. He was just trying to make money on the side.
Okay.
So we parted ways.
All right, I'm not trying to attack you, but I do want to say this. The last time I went into Fridays, I was offered a shot at the door. First of all, I didn't know what was going on. I was offered a shot. And I said, no, I'm hungry, I need to go sit down. I sat there for 15 minutes and no one came to the table. There was a lot of commotion going on and I left. And other times that I've heard about it, it's been a lot of trouble. I've been in the restaurant business and I do hosting. Your store is as good as its employees and your service. And if you're not noted for those, you're not going to last very long. And if you are noted for the other things, you're going to bring the rest of the mass crowd. And I'm just saying this in general too. We need places where all of us can go. After the meeting, we want to be able to go somewhere. The story is you don't go there when it's dark. You know, we don't want places like that. So if even in terms of getting this license, maybe they can turn some things around. Look, Miss Millie Hall is running a gun violence a campaign. Maybe you can have her come in and have a whole host and have a night of talking, something like that, that brings communities together.
Yeah, she's
and that's what we
wonderful.
need. You may want to talk with her and also talk to the local Southfield Chamber. Maybe they can help you. We need to change things in Southfield about the atmosphere here, and it's in these restaurants that people are over drinking and nobody's stopping them and there's chaos and confusion going on, and we don't want that in Southfield. And I mean, TGI Fridays used to be the place where you get the spinach, the chicken and all. You know, we want places where we can enjoy. And if you're gonna have the license, maybe have some type of training to have people be aware of people that are drinking too much so we won't have the drunk driving also here. You know, that's a big responsibility that goes with that. And I mean, you say when you're away that what would happen, that's leadership, getting somebody that's gonna stand with you and do the right thing when you're gone. And we really so desperately need that in these type of restaurants in our city. And I would hope that Fridays can really bring up its standards where I can come and buy something to eat when it's dark. And I won't have to be harassed by the foolishness of what's going on in there and things like that. Because it's been known now it's a dance spot. And the Fridays that I go to out of Southfield, it's not like that. It's family. And I would really love for that to change.
I would.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr.
We're
Mayor?
the only one in Michigan now. We're the only Fridays in Michigan now.
Or the one closed off of Highland Road?
All of them. But we're the only one in this state.
That's because y'all making money off them booths.
No, ma'am, we don't sell booths.
I just want to tell you that there are things on the Friday's menu that I enjoyed ordering. And I haven't been in the restaurant in a while, and it's a shame because I live here figuratively, and wanted dinner or something or lunch across the street. And the reason I stopped going was when I'm having a meal, I don't want to shout at the people across the table to be heard. And I remember asking to have the music turned down, and it was turned down, and then it went right back up. To me, that's not conducive to enjoying a meal. If the music is so loud that you can't hear the people across the table from you. So you'll never get me back there unless the music is lower so we can have a conversation without shouting. If that's valuable to you, I don't know, but that's why I stopped going.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the liquor license request as presented.
Support.
It's been properly moved by Councilman Mandelbaum, supported by Council President Pro Tem Hoag. Any additional questions or discussion? Hearing none? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And you will hear from us if it gets too rowdy
Oh,
or,
I'm sure.
you know.
I'll be ready. But hopefully I won't hear from you. You know, in a bad way.
Well, maybe we can hear from you and invite us out there.
I'll invite you to have a meeting or something, just come have lunch.
Thank you,
We'll get
ma'am.
that together,
Yeah, we'd like to come back.
because we're right there, right there. Okay.
Thank you all. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.